News after a woman is killed when an ICE agent opened fire during a protest this afternoon. The woman, identified as Renee Good, died in her SUV. Homeland Security says she was heading for the officer. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz wants federal agents out of the state.
We do not need any further help from the federal government. To Donald Trump and Kristi Noem, you've done enough.
And Walz has put the National Guard on notice, meaning they could be called up. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem says the shooting was justified.
An officer of ours acted quickly and defensively shot to protect himself and the people around him.
President Trump writing on Truth Social that he saw a video of the incident claiming the woman ran over the ICE officer and that the officer shot her in self-defense, though video shows the officer never hit the ground. And the president calling for a massive increase in military spending, setting the budget for 2027 at $1.5 trillion. This coming days after the operation to capture Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro and bring him to the U.S. to face federal charges. The U.S. military has seized 2 Venezuelan-linked oil tankers on the North Atlantic, one in the North Atlantic.
This was a Venezuelan shadow fleet vessel that has transported sanctioned oil, and the United States of America, under this president, is not going to tolerate that.
White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, who says Venezuelan oil is beginning to be put up for sale, and the money from that sale will be split between the U.S. and Venezuela. California will lose an additional $160 million for delaying the revocation of 17,000 commercial driver's licenses for immigrants. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy has already withheld $40 million because he says the state's not enforcing English proficiency requirements for truckers. America is listening to Fox News.
As a mom, comforting my family is what I do best. Vicks Vapor Stick provides soothing, non-medicated Vicks vapors in an easy-to-apply stick, and it dries fast, so there's no mess. I use it to comfort myself and my family.
Thanks, Mom.
Vicks Vapo Stick, soothing comfort for the whole family. And try Vicks Vapo Shower Max for steamy Vicks vapors when you need more comfort for yourself. Use as directed.
Welcome back to Winter Hack Radio, the place for clever hacks to survive the season. Icy driveway? Well, try spreading sand or birdseed to help with traction. Snowy puppy paws? Well, grab a whisk, brush it off, done. Catch COVID-19? Well, just get...
Actually, there's no hack for COVID-19. But if you test positive, prescription medications for COVID exist. Ask your doctor if they're right for you. Visit PfizerForAll.com to learn more. Sponsored by Pfizer.
The yellow light!
I'm walking here!
Good afternoon and welcome to the Jason Rantz Show. We are here on Seattle Red 770 AM, streaming on seattlered.com. We've got a ton to get to over the course of this show, including Sean Duffy, the Transportation Secretary, is going to be stopping by. Todd Myers from the Washington Policy Center will highlight in about 30 minutes a huge scandal here in Washington State with the Climate Commitment Act. But first, it's my understanding that Emily Randall says Somali fraudsters should be ignored so we can focus exclusively on white men. Oh, okay. That's what's trending. Brought to you by Legacy Group Capital, Common Sense Lending.
What's trending? Dum alert.
It truly is remarkable and somewhat ironic in the context of the last couple days. We've been having this conversation about the forgotten member of Congress, Emily Randall.
We've talked about her every day this week now.
How is that? We talked about her in this new year. For us, which is only 3 days now, we've talked about her more times than we have for the entirety of her career in Congress. All of last year, maybe we mentioned her once, and I think I forgot her name. And I just said it was that forgotten congresswoman whose name I can't remember. But now we're going 3 days in a row. And maybe she heard that as a challenge when we said she's the forgotten member of Congress. And she's the one who talks like this and always has an inflection at the end of every single sentence. And it's kind of difficult to understand whether or not she's asking you a question or making a statement. Can't really tell. And she decided to weigh in on the scandal in Minnesota, not the one in which someone tried to run over an ICE agent and then was shot for it. We'll get into that later on in the show. But the daycare fraud Very clear and obvious daycare fraud. So she's doing what leftists do all the time, which is deflect from the actual issue and then immediately, while decrying racism, target white people. Because I guess that even though it's 2026, we're still doing that same old woke, identity-focused garbage. I guess she thinks it still plays, and perhaps for her it does. But she was at a committee hearing this morning, and she's like, hey, we should completely excuse any fraud that's being committed by foreigners. Just ignore it, because that is a group of people that we're trying to play white savior to, although she's not white, in fairness. I think she's Native American. Can't remember, because I forgot, if I'm being honest.
I thought she was like half Hispanic or something.
Maybe that, I don't remember. She's a lesbian, I'm pretty sure. So there's that. There's all this identity nonsense that doesn't matter to me. But in any case, she's saying just ignore Somali fraudsters and focus our attention on white dudes.
We can trot out all of the data that we want to create the sense that there is a bad guy. There is a bad group of people. There are folks who are not among us. There are folks who are...
First of all, what does that even mean? I know she's off script. She's just trying to... people who are not among us? What does that mean? Are we talking about people who are not amongst us?
There are folks who are not among us. There are folks who are other. And I think we should spend a lot more time looking at ourselves, looking at American citizens.
Just real quickly, the Somalis we're talking about, aren't they American citizens?
Yeah.
Many of them.
Yeah.
If not almost all of them that we're talking about in this context. What is she talking? So now she's just saying because they're Somalis, they're not American citizens, and they're merely others.
Looking at white men who are committing violence at disproportionate rates in our country, who are...
By the way, that's not even true. That's not true. White men are not committing violent crimes at disproportionate rates. If you want to talk about disproportionate rates, it's actually black men that are committing violent crimes at disproportionate rates. Now, that does not mean that all black people are violent, right? But she's trying to give off the impression that all white men are violent, very violent, disproportionately so. It is a stupid argument that she's making. And by the way, you make the opposite argument. If you even point out any of the data between, black men or Somali daycare fraudsters, whatever it is, wouldn't you be called a racist? Wouldn't you be called a racist? Even if the data you were putting out was factually accurate, you'd be called a racist. And she's just leaning into this.
Committing crimes at disproportionate rates in our country, including the President of the United States, who is sitting at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, as so many of my colleagues have pointed out.
Okay, so by the way, is she also arguing that white men who are presidents commit disproportionate number of crimes because of Donald Trump? All those crimes that just completely fell apart. All the charges completely falling apart.
I also want to say, I've heard a lot about the Somali donors to political campaigns. We all acknowledge, right, that you cannot donate to a political campaign in the United States unless you are an American citizen.
There was a whole scandal about dark money going into the second Obama campaign and when Hillary ran. I mean, that was part of the whole, but I don't even quite understand her point. Does she actually think all the Somalis we're talking about are not American citizens or are able to donate to campaigns? Does she actually think that? Oh, okay. I do like the perhaps naivete on getting money to political campaigns because, man, it's so well regulated. It's very, very, very difficult to cheat the system. Even especially if you're going through PACs or, nonprofits that have a PAC that then push money in, it's just
almost impossible.
It's just, the truth is we barely have any money fueling our campaigns as it is because of how overregulated it is.
Right. I'm just going to acknowledge that.
You should not have acknowledged that because you sound like an idiot. What was the point of this? What was the point of this? It seems pretty clear. Again, we're going to downplay the fraud that took place. We're going to pretend that the only reason anyone is pointing out this particular fraud is because they happen to be Somali or Somali American. And then we're going to pivot to the typical boogeyman from people like Emily Randall on the very radical left. It's a white man problem. It's a white man problem? There's evil white men.
Wait, is it or isn't it? I can't tell.
It's a white man problem.
Are you asking a question?
Do you not hear me? It's a white man problem? Well, does this legitimately, I'm asking this question. Does this still play even amongst liberals in 2026? And I mean Democrats in general. I'm not talking about the fringe Emily Randall progressive crowd, because obviously this still works. But just the average person. This got picked up nationally. This was at a hearing today that virtually no one knew was taking place. Did you know about this hearing?
Nope.
No, right? Emily Randall, again, is a no-named freshman member of Congress. I think she's still a freshman, right?
I think so.
I think so.
Yeah.
So normally, Emily Randall wouldn't get on anyone's radar, no matter what she said. She could be jumping up and down and screaming and chanting and singing, and it would normally not get anyone's attention because no one really cares about her. But she said this, and it got called out on X. I saw it all over the place today. Again, this is the most coverage she's ever received. And it was, none of it was, you go, girl. You get those white men.
Just
down
mockery.
with the patriarchy. What?
Just mockery.
It was all mockery. I'm serious. Did you see a single person who said, that's a very astute observation. This is someone maybe we shouldn't have forgotten about. This is a lawmaker to watch.
But there's no such thing as bad publicity.
I reject that. I don't believe that. I don't
Look at Tim Walz.
Right? I mean, yeah, there's a certain governor of Minnesota who today is saying, oh, thank God ICE murdered an innocent Minnesotan, because now I can take some of the stink off of me and create a controversy that doesn't actually exist so that people will stop focusing on me and instead focus on ICE, where the detention ball, he's saying that right now. He's just like, phew. Thank you, ICE. In fact, breaking news, he's inviting more ICE agents to Minnesota. It's just so unbelievable. And by the way, at the exact same time, we got word that the former auditor of Washington State, who is a Democrat, and he served for 20 years, it was 1992 through 2012, he just did an interview, Brian Sontag, with Como TV and Chris Daniels, to tell us that y'all maybe want to pretend, sweep under the rug, the potential fraud that's happening at the Department of Children, Youth, and Families, which is the oversight agency for daycare centers here in Washington State. But he's like, someone needs to start digging into the numbers.
I think what you want to do is figure out who authorizes these disbursements. If you've got 3 kids in a daycare versus a much, much smaller amount if you've got 60 kids in a daycare. What are those factors? And find out who's responsible for those disbursements and making those decisions, and start there.
Is that a relatively easy question to answer?
Yeah, that one is.
It's like, yeah, dummy. That's really simple. And by the way, kudos to Chris Daniels for digging into this. I don't know of any television reporters who have really taken this on. I know that there are a lot of independent journalists who are looking into this. I know there are bloggers and independent voices in general looking into this. But for the most part, King 5 is not going to cover this. Oh my God, for sure. The only coverage that I saw from King 5 about potential fraud here is about how evil and racist and bigoted all of the independent journalists are for showing up and trying to find whether or not there's fraud going on. That Jonathan Cho is a white supremacist. I mean, that's basically the coverage that you're going to get from King 5. They're not going to cover this. So kudos, again, to Chris Daniels for actually covering this.
You've got to be accountable over those dollars and be able to demonstrate to the public the controls in place to safeguard that public money.
The reason why they don't want to do that is because there isn't a whole bunch of controls in place over the public money. I mean, that's what happened in Minnesota by design. These programs are designed to be really loose and easy to disperse. That is by design. And that's the same going on here in Washington State.
Is there a lot of room for misinterpretation here with what's going on, given the amount of dollars and the amount of providers that we're talking about?
Sure there is. And again, that goes back to why the transparency is so important. There are questions, and I'm not saying they aren't answerable, but you don't know until you get the answers. The fact that there are other states involved with similar questions, I don't know how similar or what the relationships might be. The public, as well as state government, certainly needs answers. They expect, demand, and deserve answers to these questions.
It seems pretty reasonable. And again, this is a Democrat who does not need to speak up. He hasn't been in the state auditor position since 2012. There's no reason for him to say, actually, maybe we ought to look at this. Nick Brown's not asking any questions. He's certainly not answering any either. Bob Ferguson wants nothing to do with this. He wants nothing to do with this. And we're heading into how many days away from the state legislative session? 4 or 5 days. I think it's next, Monday, maybe Tuesday? Like, we're getting really close to the legislative session. You think they're going to be paying any attention to this outside of trying to protect the fraud that's happening?
No,
to just hide it?
No.
Of course not. We told you yesterday, State Senator Lisa Wellman, the Democrat from Mercer Island, she introduced a bill that effectively pulls all identifiable information from records of child care providers so that you can't even do a dive into this. And remember, they stand for free speech and they're pro reporters.
Seems a little suspicious.
Yeah, there's nothing to see here. And of course, what they'll do is, no, we're not trying to hide anything. We're trying to protect people from being harassed because of the color of their skin and the amount of money that they're fraudulently taking away from. Just because of the color of their skin. That's what they'll tell us. That's how they're framing this. We got to protect child care providers. And it's about the kids. It's about the kids. We're trying to also protect the kids because it's creepy that someone's going to show up to take photos of them. And yes, we changed the zoning so across the street from the child daycare center, a sex offender who we just released from McNeil Island can go ahead and live. But just don't pay attention to that. Oh, but it's about the kids. Oh, okay. Let's find out what else is trending.
What's trending? Safety first.
Washington State Patrol troopers are pleading for drivers to pay better attention while they're on the roads. They've seen a series of crashes involving troopers who are the victims in the crash in some cases. They're saying, can y'all just slow down near emergency scenes? You're driving on 167 or I-5, whatever it is, and there's clearly some emergency personnel on the sides of the road. Could you maybe slow down? Because they're pointing to something that happened on Monday on State Route 512 in Parkland when a trooper's car was struck from behind by a driver who just apparently wasn't paying attention. And to Trooper Cameron Watts of the Washington State Patrol, also talking to Como, he says, look, a lot of this is completely preventable.
A lot of these crashes are avoidable. The winter conditions definitely affect driving, but a lot of this is human error. A lot of these accidents can be avoided. Move over not just for us, but for tow truck operators, for ambulance truck drivers, firefighting crews, people who are disabled on the side of the road.
Have you guys been keeping your guard up more about the cars coming at you after all these recent crashes?
There's been a lot more of us standing by each other, responding to calls together more often, providing traffic control. So we're trying to do our part, but we can only do so much.
And yeah, I don't know what else they can, in fact, do. They've got their lights on. It's clear as day or night that they're there. And this is a driver issue.
It's like, hey, stop sucking at driving.
Yeah, it's just like, maybe look up.
It's not that hard.
And I don't know how much of this is cell phone related, just people on their phones I don't know. But it takes a special amount of lack of care, right, to crash into a Washington State trooper who's on the side of the road with his or her lights on, right, dealing with a crash, which oftentimes means there's also a lot of other cars on the side of the road, sometimes fire, sometimes the tow truck driver with their lights on. How does this happen? How does this happen? This is just insane to me. And thankfully, we haven't seen a serious accident recently where we've seen an injury or death. And as much as I love Como's Jeremy Harris, they did point in this article, the last one they're pointing to was Trooper Christopher Gadd being killed, which is a little bit different than And that was an illegal immigrant who was drunk at the time who ended up hitting and killing him. That's not quite what we're talking about. At least that's not what it seems. Have you seen any info on these crashes being due to alcohol use or pot use or something? Because just people are distracted or just not paying attention. Okay. Hey, dummies, be better behind the wheel. What's going on, man? And don't blame weather.
I know, it's amazing how people always like slow down significantly. It seems like in the rain here, like as if they don't know how to drive. It's like,
yes, that's what they do. But my point is, I guess that's safer, generally speaking. If everyone is just kind of slowing down, that's you can't blame the weather on not paying attention. Like, no, I was looking at the beautiful snowfall. It hasn't been snowing. I will say this: on New Year's Eve, coming back from the airport, the fog was really dense. This was the first time I was in the car, and it was a Lyft driver driving me. I was like, thank God I'm not driving, because I can't see a damn thing. It was really, really thick on the freeway. And then I said, why am I thankful I'm not driving? I trust myself way more than this stranger who I don't even know, who was late picking me up.
He's professional, though.
Is he, though?
It's his job.
Oh, okay. Never mind then. Remember when everything was locked down and you weren't driving your car anywhere? Well, you missed regular maintenance, which means you might have wrecked your vehicle's warranty. The Sunset Auto family is offering warranty health checks for free. And if they find your coverage is shaky, they can get you out of that car or truck and into something better with warranty protection for life. I love talking about traffic. I feel like we need to do a little bit more of that with my friend. That's what's trending.
What's trending on the road?
Another day, another toll is headed our way. Joining us in studio, Chris Sullivan from our sister station, Car News Radio. So folks who are driving between Sumner and Pacific, they're about to pay more.
Yes, they are. The toll lanes are going to go active, or should I say the new express toll lane will go active on Monday. It was supposed to go active in October, but with the rest of the corridor, because they refreshed the 17-year-old tolling equipment over the last couple of years, and so that new tolling equipment went active in October. But they held off on that first 6 miles because of that bridge strike in Pacific. They had, down to 2 lanes or down to 1 lane really that was open because of that bridge strike. And they were like, okay, it doesn't seem fair to toll people from Sumner through a construction zone.
Because that's usually what they think of as what's fair.
Yeah, so they kind of postponed that and then waited till the bridge to be fixed. The bridge is now fixed. It got opened up right before Christmas. And because of that, now that initial 6 miles will join the rest of the corridor. And so they'll have an express toll lane that runs basically from Sumner to Renton come Monday morning.
What's the cost if they're just driving that one portion? Because the longer you drive, the higher the toll. Correct?
It depends on the on the time of day. So I mean, and again, but there's segmented tolling there as well. So that first section to get you up to 167 and Highway 18 is obviously never probably going to run $15 because you're not going the whole corridor. That's your first stop.
So let's say you're driving from Bothell into Sumner.
Oh, well, now the good thing is that the toll lane has not gone active. They haven't built that new extra lane between Auburn down to Sumner yet because
it's coming.
Because they prioritize northbound in the morning because that's where it sees more traffic. Even though you ask anybody who drives southbound in the afternoon, it gets backed up all the way to where they lose the HOV lane there going southbound. But they chose not to add that yet. It's coming, but they haven't started the construction to widen that section. But yeah, you can still pay $15 right now if you want to go from Renton to Auburn. But what's interesting is since tolling went into effect, Jason, it really has never hit the $15 mark, at least during the morning commute. It used to hit quite often before they changed this. So I'm not sure whether or not the segmented tolling is different or better, or the algorithm is better, but it usually hovers right around $7 or $8 at the peak of the morning, which is kind of interesting.
But that's absurd.
Well, true, but it hasn't gotten up to 15 like it used to when it was just a straight a lane and there was rampant cheating going on. And maybe that's it. People aren't in that lane as often because they can't cheat anymore.
Has this actually reduced traffic?
It's hard. It's hard to say. I mean, it just started in October with this new equipment. What I can say though is what I just said with the tolling is that drive has been better in the morning. Again, going into the holidays, October. I mean, we'll see if that continues for a year and we get some solid data.
Or probably maybe not even this week. Next week really is when things get fully back to normal.
Yeah, because is UW back yet? I'm not sure if everyone's fully back.
Week has been
It's been
relatively
oddly lighter than I expected. But don't worry.
Next week it'll be back. We'll talk about that later.
Nothing matters after next Monday in this city for the next year. We'll talk about that later.
Revive I-5.
You mean the months of hell?
Yeah.
You know where I'm going.
We'll talk on Friday.
It'll be interesting to see where we go with this. But the system seems to be working on that corridor. People seem to be driving it, and
the state gets more money.
True, but
you have less money.
Well, but the people who are cheating are now having to pay money because
I'm okay. I was always okay with the cheating. So were you. Good for them. Good for them. It's theft anyway.
Yeah, I just wish they would, I like people paying their fair share.
They already pay their fair share. They pay for the bridges that have been built and all the maintenance with their gas taxes and other taxes, and they're choosing not to spend that effectively or efficiently.
Well, that is also true. But in this case, you're paying.
I'm not blaming the driver.
It's a congestion price model. You're right. It doesn't go to paying for the equipment, but it pays for the tolling equipment, but it doesn't pay for the improvements they made there. But I will always believe that, hey, if it's 2+, you should be 2+. I'm kind of a rule follower like that.
No, I'm the opposite. I want everyone to cheat. But if you get caught, I didn't tell you.
Did I miss your segment on Somali daycares? Speaking of how much you love cheating, maybe I got you there, didn't I?
Maybe WashDOT is running daycare centers.
That was low-hanging fruit. Sorry, Jason.
If you want to read more about this, by the way, mynorthwest.com/chokepoints. Thank you so much for stopping by.
Anytime.
You're listening to the Jason Rantz Show right here on Seattle Red.
As a mom, comforting my family is what I do best. Vicks Vapor Stick provides soothing, non-medicated Vicks vapors in an easy-to-apply stick, and it dries fast, so there's no mess. I use it to comfort myself and my family.
Thanks, Mom.
Vicks Vapo Stick, soothing comfort for the whole family. And try Vicks Vapo Shower Max for steamy Vicks vapors when you need more comfort for yourself. Use as directed.
Pizza's here.
Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Hey, it's Jason Rantz here for Northwest Safe. Protect your valuables with a reliable gun safe from Northwest Safe. They're an exclusive Liberty Safe dealer. These are American-made. They are built tough. Liberty Safe is the most trusted name in the safe industry. And at Northwest Safe, because they exclusively sell the Liberty Safe as their dealer, you get better pricing, exclusive rebates, and you get the perfect safe for your home or your business ready to go in stock. You can visit their showroom in Enumclaw. They've got hundreds of safes on display. Or you can go online to nwsafe.com, nwsafe.com. And when it's time to have it delivered, they don't just drop it off at the front porch. They bring it into the home, upstairs, downstairs. They bolt it to your basement floor if that's what you want. Protect your firearms, secure your valuables, and do it with white glove delivery and unbeatable service. Northwest Safe makes sure Liberty Safe does what it does best, keeping you safe. nwsafe.com or call 1-888-404-SAFE.
When the rain doesn't stop and the water begins to rise, a home shouldn't be left vulnerable. Heavy storms and flooding can cause lasting damage, but homeowners don't have to face it alone. Lake Atitlan Insulation specializes in water drainage solutions that protect properties and provide peace of mind. Call today before the damage is done. Lake Atitlan Insulation. Local, trusted, efficient. Visit lakeatitlaninsulation.com and schedule your free estimate today. Call 206-660-4624. Lake Atitlan Insulation, where warmth meets wisdom.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-292-4541 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-292-4541. That's 800-292-4541. What do you have to lose? Call 800-292-4541. Again, 800-292-4541.
Hi, I'm Cade with Natural Design Landscaping. Winter is the best time to start your outdoor remodel. Why? Because when spring arrives, your new patio, deck, water feature, or outdoor oasis will be ready for you to enjoy. At Natural Design Landscaping, we're not a big corporation, just a local team that treats your yard like it's our own. The holidays are coming up, and an upgraded outdoor space ready in time for spring is the perfect gift to give. Mention Seattle Red and get 10% off your winter project. Visit naturaldesignlandscape.com and let's create something beautiful.
This hour of the Jason Rantz Show is brought to you by General Transmission Repair.
Welcome back to the Jason Rantz Show.
So, Washington state officials reported that about 7.5 million metric tons of greenhouse gas emissions were reduced, all because of the Climate Commitment Act. That is fantastic, except it's not true at all. In fact, it was overstated dramatically. Joining me on the line to discuss is Todd Myers from the Washington Policy Center. I mean, the actual amount, Todd, was what, like 78,000?
Correct. It went from, there was 8 projects that were faulty that we had identified, and that went from 7.5 million metric tons, they said, were avoided. For context, that is the equivalent of about 40% of taking all cars and trucks off the road for a year. So they were very excited when they released it. The actual amount is not 7.5 million, it's 78,000 metric tons of CO2. So very much smaller.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a difference between the two numbers. Now, they had come out yesterday, the Commerce Department, to announce that this was just a data entry problem. I'm not entirely sure I believe that, but what say you?
I don't really care what the reason was, whether it was malicious or whether it was accidental. They should have recognized it. So when the report was released the day before Thanksgiving, I looked at it and immediately saw that the numbers were wrong because they were so high and the cost they reported to reduce CO2 emissions was so low. It was $40 a metric ton. That doesn't mean anything to people, but just for context, the year before, the number they reported was $1,400 per metric ton. So, I mean, it just shows how big a drop it was. So I knew instantly it was wrong. And it took me about an hour of scrolling through this report, about 500 pages, to identify the problem. And I went to Twitter and said, this report is bogus, and here's why. And the very things that I pointed out hours after the report was released are the things that they admitted to yesterday. So whether that it was accidental, whether it was intentional, they should have known that there was a problem because they claim to be the experts. It shouldn't be left to guys like me recognizing it. They're the ones who are doing this, spending billions of dollars of state money, and obviously don't even know the most basic sort of metrics about what makes sense and what doesn't.
And to me, that's what's the most alarming, because look, mistakes get made, I suppose. And if it was just in some press release that nobody saw that they put out, before a 3-day weekend or something, you could tell they probably didn't really care all that much about it. But they celebrated these numbers, which meant they actually looked at the numbers and said, wow, this is amazing. And at no point did anyone say, this doesn't really make sense to me. Before we go out there and celebrate, could you just double check on the calculations? No, they just saw the numbers. They immediately put that. And that's why I wonder if this was trying to pull a fast one, because they don't think there are a whole bunch of nerdy people like my friend Todd Myers, who's going to be out there going over all of this.
Well, that's right. And then, they went to the Seattle Times. The Seattle Times did a story and said, look how great this is. And so the Seattle Times has a whole project called the Climate Lab, full of reporters who focus only on climate change. They also should be able to look at these numbers and say, wow, this is a big change. Why is this true? Is this true? So I think that there's a lot of wishful thinking that is going on at the very least. But this isn't the first mistake they've made. When the Climate Commitment Act, when the CO2 tax was implemented in 2003, they said the cost to the taxpayers for a gallon of gas would be pennies. I said, that's ridiculous. It's going to be 40 cents or more. I was right. They were wrong. They actually even had to scrub their webpage of that data. Last year, we had to sue them.
But let's be clear on this. That they just flat out lied about. They knew, and they chose to ignore their own economics advisors and whatnot, they chose to ignore that person and just put out this false news. And a lot of that was, it was coming from Department of Commerce and Ecology, but it was really, that was a Jay Inslee issue.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And in fact, they even made it a more absurd claim, which is that the price of natural gas for home heating would go down. Well, that's ridiculous. You're taxing it. Of course, the price is going to go up, and it has. And then last year, we had to sue them because they refused to release the CO2 data for Washington State, which they're required by law to do. It is now 2026. The most recent data that we have is from 2021. It's completely useless as a tool to make decisions. So we had to sue them to get that. And they admitted in court that they simply weren't capable of following the law. And now we have this mistake where, a huge percentage of the emissions that they claimed had been reduced are simply fake. This is a pattern. And so I hope that this is a wake-up call to the legislature that we need a serious overhaul, both in our climate policy and in the climate program in the Department of Ecology.
Do you think this is a wake-up call, or at least will be perceived as one by Democrats who seem to just keep their heads in the sand on this intentionally?
Well, I think that the problem with Washington State's climate policy is that it is more political than real. And so the image of trying to fight climate change is more important than actually being effective in fighting climate change. And so I think that will prevent them. They will try to look for excuses to say, well, this was just a small error. They fixed it now. It's fine going forward. And they will ignore this constant pattern because then they lose the political benefit, right? If you say, look, the Climate Commitment Act is critical to fighting climate change, and then it comes out that the Climate Commitment Act is consistently failing, is consistently more expensive, is consistently less effective, well, then you look like a fool. And, nobody, especially politicians, likes to look like a fool.
What are the implications of this error outside of breaking the trust of Washingtonians?
Well, what it shows is that the way we are spending money, and we have spent $1.5 billion already, we have collected more than $4 billion that will ultimately be spent. It shows that the way that we are spending money is political and not based on results. Now, there are things that we can do that would have a positive impact. Microsoft, Amazon, and others, they spend money to reduce CO2 emissions, and they actually demand results. And they have a policy that if they spend money on something and it doesn't reduce CO2 emissions, they get their money back. The state doesn't do that. If we spend money on something and it fails, we just shrug our shoulders and go, oh, well. So, what that shows is that this is really more about spending money. A lot of this money is spent simply to pad government programs, hire more government employees. It's really a mess. And I think this error dramatically shows how off track we are and how we spend CO2 taxes.
How do you think they're going to spin this?
Boy, that's a good question. I think that the release that they put out yesterday simply said, well, it was an error, and we put in some systems to make sure it won't happen again. Everything's fine. Well, no. When it goes from, 7.5 million metric tons down to 78,000, that's more than just, an error that they can fix and walk away from it. It shows that the program itself fundamentally isn't focused on delivering results, isn't focused on making sure that there is accuracy and making good decisions. It is more about just throwing the money out the door and engaging in political efforts to show, look how much we care. That, I think, is the core of the problem. This is a symptom of the problem, but the real problem is that they care more about spending money than they do about helping the planet.
So ultimately, because of the Climate Commitment Act, we're now the third highest gas priced state in the country. And usually we go between number 2 and number 3. Number 1 is almost always California, although we hit that dubious top spot a couple times last year. But ultimately, how big of a failure is the Climate Commitment Act beyond raising the price of gasoline, which obviously has been hugely successful there?
Well, I think it's hard to say. And one of the reasons it's hard to say is that they simply refuse to release the data on how close we are to our targets. I think the initial data show that we are failing. Washington State, King County, Seattle have missed every single one of their climate targets, except in 2020 during the COVID year. That's the only time we've ever come close to meeting our climate targets. And it just shows what a failure our climate policy is. So I think that's the takeaway from this is that unless we have a dramatic change in how we do climate policy, we're going to keep failing. We're going to keep spending a lot of money. We're going to keep driving costs up, and the planet is not going to benefit.
But so I think it's actually kind of instructive that we were successful during 2020 for COVID because essentially no one was driving, no one was out and about. They didn't leave their home, which isn't that ultimately the goal of all of these left-wing policies, was just to get you to stop driving completely.
Yeah. Yeah, it's even worse than that because the 2030 target, which is, now 4 or 5, potentially 5 years away, would require that we reduce CO2 emissions by the equivalent of more than 2 COVID reductions over the next 5 years cumulatively. So we have to reduce emissions. We have to have essentially the equivalent of 2 more of those in the next 5 years. Well, that's not going to happen, or it does happen and our economy is going to crash. That just shows you sort of how ridiculous our climate goals are, our climate strategy. Like I said, I hope that this is a wake-up call, but as you point out, I think there's a lot of denial.
Well, just to your point, a lot of this is just performative in nature. And one other really significant story that for the most part is not getting covered all that much, at least not in a more honest and direct way, is that we have a third of our ferries that are currently dead in the water, essentially, that they're taken offline. 7 out of the 21 as of yesterday afternoon. I imagine that number is probably going to get worse when this comes with real world consequences for people who are relying on the ferry to get to work, to get home, to get to doctor's appointments. How much of this was just completely predictable that this would happen when you're not focused on upkeep, when you're not focused on just basic maintenance of your currently aging fleet, as you slowly try to adopt a technology for electrified ferries that just doesn't exist the way we need it to.
Well, you ask how much of it was predictable. 100%. All of it. And how do I know that? We predicted it.
Yeah.
So our research, our transportation expert here at the Washington Policy Center, a guy named Charles Prestrud, who worked at Washington State Department of Transportation and worked in the ferry system for a while, wrote years ago that unless we, replaced the failing ferries with diesel ferries, which we could do quickly, rather than trying to go to this boondoggle of electric, we were going to be in trouble. Well, here we are. We're in trouble. So, it was predictable. There are other shoes to drop in this whole climate policy that we have, in that we are already beyond the point in terms of our electric reliability where the chance of a blackout is higher than the standards that we typically set. So, and that's only going to get worse as energy use goes up. People talk about data centers, but we have electric vehicles, we have growth, we have all sorts of other things that are driving an increase in electricity. And our laws say that you can only fulfill that really with wind and solar. Well, that's very expensive. It's not very reliable. So, there are lots of indications that Washington State's climate policies are causing problems. The reliability of our electric grid, ferries, the waste of the money. That's why we need to do a rethink about our climate policy in general.
Well, just with that in mind, last question, what's the next shoe to drop, do you think? What's the next big controversy?
I don't know. There's lots of things to look at. I think probably electricity is where we really need to focus.
We had an study 2 months ago, right, that basically said that we're getting very, very close to being on the brink of just losing power unless, we're going to have to go potentially to rolling blackouts.
That's correct. And so natural gas, like Avista, Puget Sound Energy, and others say, look, unless we're allowed to build natural gas, which is currently basically prohibited by state law, we're going to be in big trouble. So the people are starting to realize that there's a mess coming. So I think electricity is probably going to be the next area that you see real change and real change necessary. Now, whether we make it, I don't know, but people are starting to sound the alarms.
Well, you're sounding the alarms, and if everyone wants to get like a heads up on what the next thing to happen before it actually happens, just make sure you're following Todd Myers from the Washington Policy Center. Thanks for stopping by, Todd. I appreciate it.
Yep. Always nice to chat with you.
You're listening to The Jason Rantz Show.
Hey, it's Jason Rantz. Our local tax expert Greg Nunn wants taxpayers to know the IRS is now going after older cases very aggressively. If you received Form CP-504 from the IRS, do not ignore it. Be proactive and resolve your situation with Greg Nunn, N-U-N-N, None Better Tax Resolution.
Bonneville, Seattle, and Seattle Red are looking for organizations that regularly distribute information about employment opportunities to job applicants or have job applicants to refer. If your organization would like to receive notifications of job vacancies, please notify Human Resources at 1820 East Lake Avenue East, Seattle, Washington, 98102, or email us at seattlealljobs@bonneville.com or call 206-726-6902. Bonneville is an equal opportunity employer.
Be a part of all the excitement at Beasley Coliseum this year. Come cheer on the Washington State Cougars men's and women's basketball teams as they host the likes of Gonzaga, St. Mary's, and Oregon State in conference play this season. Don't miss out on all the action. Grab your tickets to upcoming WSU basketball games today at WSUCougars.com/Tix. Again, that's WSUCougars.com/TIX. See you at Beasley Coliseum. Go Cougs!
Hey, it's Jason Rantz here. The Sunset Auto family, they are all about loyalty. I love them. They're very good at what they do, but they're also very good at treating customers the way we ought to be treated. I say we because I'm a customer. My vehicle is from the Sunset Auto family. Every single qualifying new and used vehicle comes with oil changes for life. That's going to save you thousands of dollars over the lifetime of your vehicle. They don't have to offer this. They choose to. They don't have to offer a health check on your current warranty. You're not even a customer yet, and yet you can bring your car or truck down there and have them check your warranty to make sure it's still valid, it's still in tip-top shape. They don't have to do it. They don't have to offer you warranty protection for life on their vehicles, on their qualifying vehicles. And yet, yep, if you're sensing the trend, they do it anyway. They do it because it's the right way to treat the customer. They don't just want you to be a one-time customer. They want you to feel like you're a part of their family. That's why it's called the Sunset Auto family. Remember, it's not just what you pay. It's what you get. And you just get more at Sunset. And people do like that. SunsetAutoFamily.com.
Dan owed an unbelievable amount of money to the IRS.
I got behind on my taxes. It's a horrible feeling.
He was in denial.
And when I got those letters from the IRS, you wanted to act like they didn't exist.
Finally, Dan turned to Optima Tax Relief, the leading tax resolution firm. A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau, they've resolved over $1 billion for their clients.
Optima got me a settlement with the IRS. These people are really people-friendly. It was every bit of a new lease on life for me.
The fast action and the great results made Dan's head spin.
I felt like I was in a dream, but it's real, and I have paperwork to prove it. They got the job done, and life is good.
For tax help you can trust, call Optima now for a free consultation.
If you're worried about what's going to happen with the IRS, stop worrying. Make the call now.
Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Amy Cox did something smart. She saved hundreds on auto insurance switching to Progressive. And with that money, she decided to treat herself to an anti-aging red light mask. Will she look like a horror movie villain every night? Yes. Will her boyfriend Kevin be scarred for life? That's certainly a risk. But it's Amy's savings, and if she's willing to risk her relationship for smooth, wrinkle-free skin, well, bye-bye, Kevin. Switch and see if you could save with Progressive and treat yourself. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. Did you buy a timeshare because they told you it was a great investment? That's a lie. Most timeshares can be bought online for $1. To find out what your timeshare is worth and to cancel it, call us today and we'll send you our timeshare exit kit free with all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley for your free exit info guide. 800-771-1300. That's 800-771-1300.
Welcome back to the Jason Rantz Show. Thank you so much for tuning in. Really do appreciate it. Sean Duffy on the show later today. It was done a little bit earlier so we could video it. The video will be available at seattlered.com and all of our social media channels. I hope you'll check it out. can we all just say we have some amazing sheriffs in Washington State? We have legitimately great sheriffs, from the ones who come on the show to the ones who we don't often have on the show. We only have one really crummy one because she's not really a sheriff in King County. But everyone else seems to be really on top of things. And when they see, injustice, they want to tackle it. And when it comes to gun rights, we know that Keith Swank, Pierce County Sheriff, has our back. And I love that. This kind of got ignored last week. I think it just fell victim to a busy news week. But there was a pretty significant federal court ruling from the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals that struck down California's ban on openly carrying firearms in most of the state, arguing that it was a clear restriction, or this restriction was a clear violation of our Second Amendment rights. It was a 2-1 decision, and it invalidated a California prohibition on open carry in counties with populations over 200,000. And that pretty much covered 95% of the state. And so the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, a panel of 3 judges, looked it over. And they said this law clearly violates a ruling from the U.S. Supreme Court. Oftentimes we refer to it as the Bruin ruling, but it was New York State Rifle and Pistol Association v. Bruin. When someone says Bruin in Second Amendment conversations, the basic legal argument, or the litmus test that you're supposed to put legislation through to see whether or not it violates the Second Amendment, is that, was there, at the time of our founding, was there any sort of historical relevance to what it is you're proposing now? Meaning, if you're trying to restrict something, was this reasonably being restricted at the time of our founding? And we had some restrictions on guns, right? I mean, there's always been some level of restrictions, but obviously there's been, when you look at it historically, less restrictions that Democrats would like. But that's all you have to do is there some sort of historical connection that you could make? And no one could go back during our founding and say, oh, no, lawmakers then, the founding fathers then, not only did they envision, but they actually moved forward with a ban on gun rights for 95% of a colony, 95% of a state, 95% of the country. Obviously, there's no historical connection to that. So the justices said, yeah, this is rejected. Now, the reason why we're talking about it, and Keith Swank is talking about it, not just because we support Second Amendment rights, but he understands, like many Washington sheriffs and many of you who are Washington gun owners, myself included, we know that Democrats here are looking for any opportunity they can take to further restrict our guns. We have some gun restrictions in place now that I think are clearly unconstitutional and will ultimately be decided as such once it gets to the proper court. At first, it'll be the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, and then ultimately we'll get to potentially to the U.S. Supreme Court, and they're going to side with us on this. But in the meantime, we got some reason to worry about our gun rights. And so Keith Swank posted on X that this is great news for gun owners and the Second Amendment. Pay attention, Olympia. This sheriff supports your God-given rights. I like sheriffs who talk like that. I love it. I think Keith Swank actually believes what he says and will, in fact, stand up for our Second Amendment rights. But moreover, he's sending a message loudly and clearly that he's not going to do the bidding of Democrats in Olympia who want to take away our rights. The reason why that also matters is because Democrats right now are pursuing a bill that would take away the right all across the state to elect a sheriff. They want to take that away and give that appointment to the county executive in which the sheriff operates. This has a lot of law enforcement and law enforcement supporters pretty worried because, remind me, who has total control right now in Olympia due to, unfortunately, not enough Republicans voting?
Democrats.
Okay, and might they abuse this kind of power?
Yeah.
Does it seem like they might abuse it on the one hand to go after guns and then on the other hand to go after our sheriffs?
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. And dare I say, when we have a shortened legislative session, which we have this year, it might be easier to get away with some of these kinds of crazy ideas because you only have so much time to generate momentum to stop something. Now, part of me wonders if you've got a shortened legislative session, does that mean that we have more time to maybe focus on some of the bills? I don't know. I kind of feel like there's going to be some big ticket items, as it were, and some of these things will get passed without even people realizing that they're even debating it. What's the biggest big ticket item right now that's going to come up in this legislative session?
Taxes.
Yeah, the millionaire tax or the wealth tax.
Yeah.
That's certainly going to be one of them. We had, what's her name? Senator Trudeau from Tacoma. She introduced a bill today that would further restrict the flock safety system, the cameras that go after bad guys, making sure that ICE will never have access to it because, like so many other Democrats, Trudeau is an open borders Democrat who doesn't really support immigration enforcement. And so we're going to have to deal with that. And those two bills alone will take up a lot of our time and energy because we want to defeat them. What else can sneak in? Now, of course, on this show, we're going to pay close attention to the bill that would get rid of our sheriffs being elected office. But I'm willing to bet it's not going to get as much coverage as it deserves in left-wing media. That's bad news for all of us. So all of us need to step up. But again, I'm grateful for people like Keith Swank, who's willing to step up, because I imagine there might be some people who are like, oh, do I really want to say anything and tempt fate because I already know they're coming after me. Keith Swank knows they're coming after him, and he's saying it anyway. Good for him. 1-800-465-8770 if you want to send me a text. I think you do. That would be a swell kind of thing to just send me, hey, Jason, what's going on? You can congratulate Jackson on his big news. He's getting married, thankfully in another state, so I don't have to worry about whether or not I'm going to go or what excuse I'm going to have to come up with to avoid it. 1-800-465-8770.
My perfect day has sand, salt water, and friends. But my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can take me out of the moment. Now I'm all in with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi. Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. With Skyrizi, most people saw 90% clearer skin, and many were even 100% plaque-free at 4 months. Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis. Visit Skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
Hey, it's Jason Rantz. I'm here with our local tax expert and advocate, Greg Nunn from None Better Tax Resolution. Last year, the big news, obviously, was the accomplishment of the big, beautiful bill, but that also comes with some big, beautiful changes to the IRS.
There are some big, beautiful changes going on, and so many of those changes in the big, beautiful bill impact 2025. What I see is there are going to be a lot of taxpayers when they prepare their tax returns. They're going to see their taxes go down. And it will provide the opportunity for taxpayers to save more money in the ways of higher standard deduction, itemized deductions. There used to be this $10,000 limit of deducting taxes. And most people, especially in our area, between property taxes, sales tax, it's going to be a lot more than $10,000. So that's going to be really helpful. There's definitely some big spiffs in there for the ordinary working person. One thing that I'm really disappointed in is the way that things have been communicated in regards to the Social Security. It is still going to be taxed. It's not like it's not going to be taxed. Part of it may be not taxed, but it's not this global thing. Oh, yeah, your Social Security isn't going to be taxed. Well, no, that's a partial truism, as with any politician. It's like they don't quite give you the full story.
Yeah, and unless you're paying attention to the code and how it's actually working,
attention,
you
don't know. You just go, oh, man, my Social Security, none of it's going to be taxed. And then when you go to prepare your tax return, you're going to go, oh, wait a minute, some of it's still going to be taxed. But it will be for most people, a reduction in the amount of tax.
If you're having trouble with the IRS, then call Greg Nunn. Nunn Better Tax Resolution. From stress to success with IRS Solutions. 425-947-1967 or Google NUNN. None Better Tax Resolution.
Seattle Red on 770 KTTH Seattle, 97.3 KIRO FM, HD3 Tacoma Seattle, 94.5 K233 DT Eastlake, 33 BU Seattle.
She says the shooting was justified. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem again calling the incident that led to the deadly shooting in Minneapolis by an ICE agent an act of domestic terrorism. She says the woman, now identified as Renee Good, had been harassing agents all day and accelerated toward the officer.
The ICE officer, fearing for his life and the other officers around him and the safety of the public, fired defensive shots. He used his training to save his own life and that of his colleagues.
Fox's Mike Tobin is in Minneapolis. He says there are multiple videos of the incident circulating online.
When you see one of the videos that shows the agent who actually fired the shots, what you can see is 3 agents on the ground on Portland Avenue to the south side of the city of Minneapolis. They approach a Honda SUV. It should be noted that we have just learned through multiple ICE sources that none of them had their body cameras activated at the time. But what you see is with these agents on the ground, one of them was standing in front of that Honda SUV. The Honda SUV lunges forward. The agent draws his sidearm and fires 2 shots. At least one of the shots went through the windshield of that SUV.
Minnesota Governor Tim Walz is calling for federal agents to leave the state. The Trump administration is beginning to put Venezuelan oil up for sale after the capture of the country's leader, Nicolas Maduro.
Sanctions on Venezuelan oil are being selectively rolled back to allow the transport and sale of the crude.
This was a deal made by the president and his team with the Venezuelan interim authorities. This will benefit both the American people and the Venezuelan people.
White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says sales are beginning immediately for 30 million to 50 million barrels of oil, with proceeds settling in U.S.-controlled accounts.
Fox's Jared Halpern at the White House. That money will be split between the U.S. and Venezuela. America's listening to Fox News.
As a mom, comforting my family is what I do best. Vicks Vapor Stick provides soothing, non-medicated Vicks Vapors in an easy-to-apply stick, and it dries fast, so there's no mess. I use it to comfort myself and my family.
Thanks, Mom.
Vicks Vapo Stick, soothing comfort for the whole family. And try Vicks Vapo Shower Max for steamy Vicks Vapors when you need more comfort for yourself. Use as directed.
Welcome back to Winter Hack Radio, the place for clever hacks to survive the season. Icy driveway? Well, try spreading sand or birdseed to help with traction. Snowy puppy paws? Well, grab a whisk, brush it off, done. Catch COVID-19? Well, just get...
Actually, there's no hack for COVID-19. But if you test positive, prescription medications for COVID exist. Ask your doctor if they're right for you. Visit PfizerForAll.com to learn more. Sponsored by Pfizer.
The yellow light! I'm walking here!
Good afternoon and welcome to the Jason Rantz Show. We are here live on Seattle Red 770 AM. We are streaming on SeattleRed.com. We got a lot to get to at 5:30. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy will be stopping by. We're also going to hear from Amanda McKinney, who just got a big endorsement from Donald Trump as she's running in Washington's 4th congressional district, as we talk to all of the Republicans who are running in that district to replace Dan Newhouse. But first, speaking of elections, Democrats are openly trying to cheat. They're not hiding this at all. It's literally doing it out in the open. And that's what's trending, brought to you by the Sunset Auto Family.
What's trending? Let's get political.
They previously said, just Democrats in general, that the attempt to redraw congressional maps outside of the normal process is stealing elections. It's done intentionally to steal an election. Look at what they did in Texas, they tell us. It's pretty disingenuous because in Texas, they actually followed their rules and regulations. California didn't. And now Washington State isn't. And they're trying to go about this in a really roundabout way. They're trying to redistrict here in Washington state, a state that's already drawn to the benefit of Democrats. They want to redraw district maps so that Republicans cannot win at all. This House joint resolution was pre-filed by the House Majority Leader Joe Fitzgibbon and Tacoma State Representative Charlotte Mena, and it would allow a redrawing of congressional maps in the middle of this 10-year cycle. They're not hiding why they're doing it. It might not be easy, but they're going to attempt to do it. I say it's not going to be easy because it's not just about having majority support. You need to get 2/3 support, and it has to get to a vote of the people. And given how unlikely that is to occur right now, made even more unlikely because it's a shortened legislative session, why are they doing it? Why are they wasting their time on this? Perhaps there's something we don't know about, that they're going to be able to get this through. I don't see how right now, but perhaps we're missing something. This is disturbing to me. And of course, they say, what happened in Texas is rigging, so we're going to rig the system back. It's not going to work out for them. It will work out in Texas because they actually followed the law, which is why they're moving forward with that, and the Supreme Court's going to side with them. Probably not going to be the case in California. Now, the Tacoma News Tribune writes that every 10 years following the decennial census, Washington's bipartisan redistricting commission determines the outline of the state's 10 congressional and 49 legislative districts. They just did this back in 2020. Washington typically bars the mid-decade tweaking of congressional lines, although a 2/3 vote of both chambers would allow the commission to reconvene at any point. Joe Fitzgibbon noted that the commission, because it's composed of 2 Republicans and 2 Democrats, if they did reconvene, each side would likely continue fighting for the current map. They're certainly not going to give anything up. And so that's why he introduced this resolution, which would put this issue ahead of the voters. So you and I and everybody else would decide whether or not we go down this path. I don't know how they get to 2/3 in the House and the Senate. Right? The math doesn't quite add. And I'm not even sure all Democrats would support this. We have a handful of reasonable Democrats. But why do you think they're doing this? Why are they wasting time on this? Performative politics, to say that they're part of something bigger, try to get the attention of national money, national dollars from the party, perhaps, national media, I don't know. But why would they do this now? Is it just setting it up to do it maybe the year after? House Minority Leader Drew Stokesbury, he told the Washington Standard that obviously we're not going to back this. He said he also warned that the Democrats would face legal challenges if they attempted to change the map legislatively. He said, this isn't a serious proposal. I hope Democrats try so the rest of us can have a good laugh and realize Democrat leadership is as dumb as their base thinks they are. That's a good line. Good on you, Stokesbury. Asked about what a potential redrawn map could look like, Fitzgibbon said during Tuesday's call that such an exercise is still multiple steps down the road. But he added that you'd see the districts become less compact. Oh, okay. Make it a little bit bigger and, again, ensure that Republicans can't win here. And the really pathetic part about this, it's already difficult because of the way the map is written or drawn for a Republican to win here. And yet they're still not happy. Meanwhile, they'll scream, no kings. They'll call President Trump a fascist. We got to stop fascism. We got to stand up for democracy by ensuring that you are disenfranchised as a Republican voter because they don't care about you and me. They don't care about us. We don't hold the right, or I suppose left positions. And so they don't care whether or not we're represented. In fact, they're upset that we are represented to the extent that we are. Just absolutely pathetic. Pathetic. And I'm waiting for the Seattle Times, which says, oh man, we care really about democracy so much. I'm waiting for them to say something. I'm waiting for King 5, Woke 5 News to come out and say, hey, we've been doing a lot of stories about the threat of democracy under Donald Trump. It's unbelievable. Let's find out what else is trending.
What's trending in Trumplandia?
So what's going on in Trumplandia? He predicts that we're going to win, granted an uphill midterm battle, but we're going to win. we're going to come out on top. We're going to make, as he said yesterday, history.
So together we had 12 months of unprecedented success in 2025, and now we're going to make history and break records with the epic midterm victory that we're going to pull off. It just doesn't seem to happen for people that win the presidency. It's an amazing phenomenon. You know, you win the presidency, and we sure as hell are having a successful presidency. I will say that.
Yeah.
But even if it's a successful presidency, and it's been nothing like what we're doing. We had a very good day 2 days ago, too. But even if it's successful, they don't win. I don't know what it is. There's something psychological, like you vote against. You can win by a lot. We won every swing state. We won the popular vote by millions. We won everything. But they say that when you win the presidency, you lose the midterm. So you're all brilliant people. Most of you are in.
And we should know when they say they, I mean, history says that has been the historical trend. It doesn't always follow the exact, but almost. I mean, almost. And by the way, that makes sense. Just thinking about this logically, I think most Americans, regardless of their political perspectives, keep in mind, most people are not hardcore either side. Most people are kind of down the middle. Maybe they tend to vote more often Democrat or more often Republican than not, but they're still down the middle. And when they see one party in power, they're going to say, okay, I don't like that. I do like the whole concept of this thing. It's called checks and balances. We like this. And sometimes when things don't go the way that they had hoped, there's only really one party to blame because it's the only party in power, even if that party in power isn't the ones who are responsible. Like, for example, Democrats closed the government, not Republicans. Republicans ended up getting blamed. Remember, you got the media that's not on our side at all. So it does logically make sense, but he thinks that he could buck that trend.
This business longer than me? That makes me smarter than you. Because look where I am, right? No, it doesn't. But I wish you could explain to me what the hell's going on with the mind of the public, because we have the right policy. They don't. They have horrible policy.
True.
They do stick together. They're violent. They're vicious. You know, they're vicious people. And they stick together like glue. They don't have a couple of the people that we have.
So I'm not entirely sure I know why he thinks we're going to win this. Other than, again, most of the time, if not always, the party in power doesn't come into a midterm and say, oh, no, we're totally going to lose, obviously. No, you might as well not even try. Just stay home, Republicans, don't vote because we're definitely going to lose. Or stay home, Democrats, don't worry. Save your gas. Gas is expensive thanks to our policies. Generally, you still say, oh, no, we're going to win. We're definitely going to win. Get out the vote. They still want to push that, understandably so. But, I mean, again, history says we're not going to win, at least the House. I think we're probably still fine with the Senate just based on the map and the people who are running. But on the House side, we have a slim majority now. What is it, down to 4 after the death of a Republican congressman yesterday, maybe 5? It's rough. Now, I don't think it's going to be, at least looking at the map right now and the numbers right now, like some blue wave. But the chances of us holding on to the slim majority is very slim, no matter who's the president. Now, a caveat being April with tax season and the tax cuts and the tax refunds, if they are as significant as this administration has said they will be, and it's going to be different for individuals, that could change the trajectory. And maybe if we lose the House, it's, you know, the Democrats now have a slim majority. Mm-hmm. And we know how they're going to govern, which is just impeach and investigate nonstop. And then they're going to end up losing the White House afterwards because of the way that they acted, right? I mean, you think they're going to go after just Donald Trump alone? No, they're going to do J.D. Vance and probably Marco Rubio next. And it's not going to go anywhere because, again, we'll still have, even if we didn't have control of the Senate, it's not really that big of a threat. But I think people just get annoyed by it. That's my guess. That's where these people stand. It's insufferable.
Even if they can at least hold the Senate, that's still big for judicial appointments. So.
100%. Look, I want both.
Yeah.
We need the Senate. The Senate, if I have to choose between those two chambers, I'm 100% on the Senate side. 100%. especially because it's much easier to maintain that kind of control since you don't have to reelect everyone every 2 years. You get a little bit more control there. And they've got all the power when it comes to the appointments. To me, the biggest issue for any president, it's not even necessarily tax policy. That's important. But for me, as just being a conservative and caring about basic, rights, I care most about judges, judicial appointments, Supreme Court especially, but obviously not just Supreme Court. And we've seen the benefits of having a conservative Supreme Court over the last several years. And I want to maintain that because the oldest ones on the bench are the conservatives. And we have to make sure we have control of the Senate if any of them decide to retire or, God forbid, something happens. So, hey, Clarence, Sam, if you're feeling achy when you get up in the morning, you can't walk out of bed without your knees really creaking, and you're not feeling you got some heartburn or whatever it is, assume the worst. Just call it quits.
Well, I'm only 30 and I feel achy, but
I'm just saying. You wouldn't be a little nervous, at least about Clarence Thomas. And the thing is, especially Sam Alito, who they keep throwing out that name, maybe he's hinting that he wants to retire. He seems on top of his game.
Oh, yeah.
100%. And frankly, Clarence Thomas sounds old. Like just literally
this is kind of his voice, though.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like he sounds old, but he doesn't act old, and he's on top of his game too. But if either of them are going to go, it's probably him stepping down before Sam. That's my guess. Our local tax expert and advocate, Greg Nunn, understands the pressure that comes from owing money to the IRS. He doesn't want it to build. You shouldn't let it build. Call Nunn Better Tax Resolution from stress to success with IRS Solutions. Google NUNN, Nunn Better Tax Resolution. Let's find out what else is trending.
What's trending on the campaign trail?
Who will be the next person to take on the rather daunting task of actually representing a red district in Washington state? Dan Newhouse, just before the holidays, announced he was not running for re-election in Washington's 4th congressional district. And since then, we've heard from another number of people who have stepped up to say they are, in fact, running. Jared Sessler, a community activist. You have State Senator Matt Banky. He announced he's running. And also, Yakima County Commissioner Amanda McKinney, who joins me now. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Why did you decide that this is the next chapter for your political career?
I've had a very short political career. I've had the opportunity to be serving Yakima County as commissioner for just 5 years and, spent my entire career in banking and, was just frustrated to see our community not really have the kind of strong vocal leadership that I think that we all are hoping and expect that our local leaders would have. And it provided me so much insight into really how we're being smothered by the state and federal government and what to do about it. I've been able to represent Yakima County and Central Washington in interests already in those 5 years in Olympia, as well as in Congress in Washington, D.C., and have gotten to really understand, how broken the system really is and, quite frankly, what to do about it. And I'm eager to get started doing just that.
And as I said, this is almost like a significantly daunting task in the context of how large and diverse this particular district is. You're essentially going from the Canadian border to the border with Oregon, right? From Omak to Kennewick, Sunnyside. Like this is a rather large district. So how does one represent the entire district in Congress? And what do you think so far has been missing, if anything?
Well, I think just that, a whole lot of energy and drive to be visible and be there in the district. That's what I've already done. I have already set a reputation for being someone who is always there, showing up. I don't spend time in an office waiting for people to knock on my door. If there are issues out there, if I'm going to make a decision on them, I need to feel them, touch them, see them. And when people call, the first thing they would say to me is, I can't believe you actually called me back. And quite frankly, the bar has been very low with regard to representatives being available and transparent and able to respond to their constituents. No doubt, as you said, it's a big district, but I've represented all of Washington state successfully on issues related to wildland fire and water issues and pushing back against, mandates during COVID. Our entire, quote, region, when we were in the Hunger Games during COVID, I took it upon myself to keep data for the COVID numbers when we were all stuck in our homes, not able, to have our free liberties, to be able to be exercised. And that's how, because I took the initiative to be tracking that information, it's how I was able to discover that the state was not providing accurate data. And if everyone recalls, in February on Valentine's Day weekend, we got out of jail. And it was after Governor Inslee said that our region, the South Central region, wasn't going to be able to come out because we hadn't done what we're supposed to do. He condemned us, basically told us that, we didn't know how to operate and wash our hands. And I said, no, that's wrong. It's absolutely wrong. And anyone who understands math knew it was wrong. And I fought relentlessly to make sure that I exposed that the data was wrong. And sure enough, we got out of jail. And then I began making sure that we didn't have to experience that again, and fought to get our kids back in school and get those ridiculous masks off their faces. And why? Because I have a family, a young family. We were experiencing it in real time. And that's what people want. They want to know that someone is a relentless advocate. I'm a fighter, but I'm a classy fighter, because I also understand that if you want to get things done, people actually have to listen to your entire sentences, and you need to make sense and come with solutions.
You describe yourself as an America First Republican, and I think within the last probably month or so, courtesy of Marjorie Taylor Greene, it seems pretty obvious that not everyone even understands what America First is. They confuse that with being an isolationist. How do you define America First?
I think you make a very good point, because I'm not an isolationist. I think I believe and understand, being in the banking industry, our families in commercial agriculture production. We are a global economy, and so much of our supply chains does revolve around being able to have allies, just to keep our trade lines open. And that means sometimes, we just saw, well executed by our United States military at the hand of President Trump and his direction, a phenomenal military action to bring to justice a criminal warlord who was having impacts on other countries, destabilizing other countries, including the United States, and murdering our children. And those are the types of things that, when we look at big picture, that those matter. To me, that was a very good sign of America First, in the sense that we're making sure that those drugs are not coming across our borders. And more importantly, they have ties to people already who came into our country illegally. Our local communities are all border communities as a result of the porous Biden administration border. President Trump sealed that up quickly, proving how easily it can be done. But that's the kind of thing that proves to me that America First can mean that we still have to have strong allies, because we can't pretend that we're in a world and living in a vacuum, that there are implications for things that we do and things that we choose not to do.
Over the weekend, obviously, big foreign policy news in the arrest of Maduro. What's your take?
I think my take is, as I just described, I think that he absolutely posed a great threat. That's why he was indicted. It's been there, quite frankly. It was even the other administration who had a $25 million bounty on his head. We're bringing him to justice for murdering Americans. And making sure that we are stabilizing and getting rid of all of the cartels that are a result of that network. And I do think that there's so much crime. There's so much crime that has resulted from afar. And we all know this, that, a lot of us, we've seen in downtown Seattle, all across small cities, even in central Washington, where we've got, illegal food vendors and people who are out selling things illegally. And a lot of people say, well, you can't ask questions because if someone is there and they're a minority, they're just trying to get by. But really, when you start pulling back the layers, you see that these people are part and parcel to a criminal organization that is being run outside of the state, across the country, and even from, another continent, that these people don't operate just simply within their borders. Technology has allowed them to operate networks inside the United States, and I think it's really the isolationist mentality doesn't recognize that they have the ability to pull strings from afar, and we have to address it.
When you look back at Dan Newhouse's career, what's something, as far as a vote, would you do differently? I know that you want to be more visible. I'm presuming that was a bit of a criticism of him, of not being as visible in the district itself. But when it comes to taking votes, taking certain policy positions, where do you defer?
Well, I think the most important thing, and I said this when it occurred, is that I always came out very forcefully rejecting the impeachment vote. I felt that it was a mistake. I felt it was a mistake that it was taken, and that he didn't come to a different conclusion wanting to change his mind. I would have hoped to have seen that. That didn't happen. But the differentiator there, that would be the very first one. Secondly, I think, there were talks with immigration reform that would provide pathways to citizenship, and that is not somewhere I'm prepared to go at all. I do believe that we have to remove incentives for people to come into this country illegally. I think it's fair for the president to call into question birthright citizenship when we know that people are coming here with the expressed desire to have their children become a part of this American culture. And I think President Trump just shared on Truth Social I think 24 hours ago, a list that shows all of the folks that are coming into our country and how they immediately become dependent upon American taxpayers for the long term. And certainly the fraud in Minnesota is tip of the iceberg. And again, having gone through COVID as an elected official, having hundreds of millions of dollars be given to local municipalities that then goes on to NGOs. I also put in a spreadsheet, a simple Excel spreadsheet, because the state and federal government did not want to check for fraud. We had rental assistance, $48 million coming in to our county, and nobody wanted to check to see whether or not people were going to be double dipping. And I said, absolutely. In the banking world, we check for fraud, not because can you imagine if it was your bank account and you thought, that's not a big deal if we miss it? No, you want to balance a checkbook at the end of every day. You expect the bank to do that with your own money, and we should expect the government, the state and federal government, to do that with our money, with every aspect of how they send it out. And I was able to thwart over $6 million in fraudulent applications that would have been paid. And that is the fault of the state and federal government, and really the abdication of our state and federal legislators not following through and making sure that there are provisions for these administrations, for these agencies to have to follow and check for fraud. And I've implemented fraud prevention at Yakima County because of that.
We've been talking with Yakima County Commissioner Amanda McKinney. She's hoping for the opportunity, the privilege to represent all of Washington's 4th congressional district as she is running to replace Dan Newhouse, who announced his retirement before the new year. Amanda, thank you so much for coming on, and we wish you the best of luck.
I appreciate the opportunity. Looking forward to coming back soon.
Absolutely. You're listening to The Jason Rantz Show right here on Seattle Red, 770 AM, online at seattlered.com.
Woodworker, check. Metalworker or material handler, check. Equipment Sales and Surplus in Auburn offers competitive pricing on leading brands like Jet, Powermatic, Wilton, Bailey, and others. Whether you're a hobbyist or a fabrication shop needing metal forming machines, they have hundreds of machines and accessories. The only dealer offering scratch and dent and discounted items. Check them out in Auburn. EquipmentSalesandSurplus.com. Your go-to for woodworking, metalworking, or material handling. That's EquipmentSalesandSurplus.com.
More than 4,000 women are diagnosed with breast cancer every year in Washington state. I'm Dr. Suzette Miranda with Northwest Hope and Healing. We provide a lifeline to breast and gynecologic cancer patients, and you can help us make a difference. Join us for Cork, Fork, and Support, an afternoon of wine tasting and inspiration on January 31st at Mary Hill Winery in Woodinville's Wine Country. Get your tickets now for Cork, Fork, and Support. Go to nwhopeandhealing.org to learn more.
I got to tell you something, Nick. I have really noticed a difference in your energy level since you started going to the Longevity Medical Clinic.
And you know why?
Why?
Because they actually balanced my hormone levels. And when they do that, the largest change I noticed was that now I could sleep.
And then not only get more sleep, you just get more energy, right?
Right. So that all of a sudden that resulted in me, I started running again and doing all these things that I felt so fatigued throughout the day that I couldn't do anymore.
Okay, so at this point, do you want to apologize to me? Because I was always saying to you, every time you say, I don't sleep, I don't feel well, I feel kind of off, I go, well, you need to get in touch with Longevity Medical Clinic. And you're always like, blah, 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 blah.
I know. But now it's turned into something fun that we get to go in together.
So I need to hear, you were right.
You were right.
You were right. I should have gone to Longevity Medical Clinic.
I should have.
There we go. Fine.
Yes.
You know the right thing to do. Get in touch with Longevity Medical Clinic. Take the free health analysis at lmclinic.com.
Progressive's accident response can detect and send help when you need it most after a major car accident. But other accidents, you're on your own. Like when you accidentally call your wife, Mom. When you accidentally say Happy Holidays on someone's birthday. When you accidentally wave at someone you thought was waving at you. We can't help with those accidents, but Progressive's accident response provides peace of mind after major car accidents. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Limited availability in California. Driver is responsible for emergency and towing charges not covered by the policy.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. Did you buy a timeshare because they told you it was a great investment? That's a lie. Most timeshares can be bought online for $1. To find out what your timeshare is worth and to cancel it, call us today and we'll send you our timeshare exit kit free with all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley for your free exit info guide. 800-771-1300. That's 800-771-1300.
As a mom, comforting my family is what I do best. Vicks Vapor Stick provides soothing, non-medicated Vicks vapors in an easy-to-apply stick, and it dries fast, so there's no mess. I use it to comfort myself and my family.
Thanks, Mom.
Vicks Vapo Stick, soothing comfort for the whole family. And try Vicks Vapo Shower Max for steamy Vicks vapors when you need more comfort for yourself. Use as directed.
Pizza's here. Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
This hour is brought to you by the Northwest Safe Company.
Sammamish, Kent, Olympia, Everett.
This is the Big Local on the Jason Rantz Show.
Centralia, Lakewood.
Stories about you, not about Seattle.
Hey, look at that, 4:30 on a weekday afternoon. That means it's time for the Big Local. Brought to you by the Guy Benson Show. Heard weekdays noon to 3 right here on Seattle Red. This is the part of the show where we completely ignore stories coming out of Seattle and instead focus all of our attention on the communities you live in and care about most. When I woke up this morning, I saw that it was supposed to snow. And then I was like, when is it going to snow? And it didn't snow anywhere here. But if you're headed to the Cascades, you saw a whole bunch of snow. Which doesn't seem like that's all that newsworthy. Because when it snows, that's where it snows. And we're told it's a winter wonderland.
And snow, it's like white and give us happiness.
That's awesome. It's, first of all, racist. We don't talk that way in this country, okay? I mean, I want you, and clearly a sellout. Listen.
And snow, it's like white and give us happiness.
Oh, now, you know what? I'm apologizing to liberals, the progressives out there. I used to scoff at them when they would scream about white supremacy culture. And yet, now I understand what they mean.
And snow, it's like white and give us happiness.
So if it was a different color, it wouldn't give us happiness?
Exactly. That's the implication there. Yeah, you know, ice and snow can also be black. We have a term for it. It's called black ice. It can be yellow as well, especially when there are homeless people around. They got to pee somewhere. But I guess that doesn't bring them happiness? It's pretty disgusting. In fact, I'm shocked that Cairo 7 included that man on the street audio. I mean, otherwise, it's a great observation.
And snow, it's like white.
Like that alone. They should have just stopped there. Because, this entire time I was like, what? This snow that they speak of, I don't understand. What is this? If only someone could tell me what color it was, then it would. He should have said it's slushy too, and it's soft, it's powdery. You know who don't like it? Truck drivers.
Kind of a pain in the really. I've been here a half hour now trying to do this, and it's just not cooperating.
God bless that.
I like
man.
the honesty.
Yeah, you know what? That's good man on the street audio. Not it's white. It brings us happiness. He's all like, no, I hate snow. What are you talking about? Get this camera out of my face. You see I'm trying to put chains on my truck. Been doing this for the last half hour. I'm hauling something. I don't even know what's back there. Jeez. Now, they said it could ultimately, by the time it's all said and done, drop 2 to 4 feet. 2 to 4 feet. And so workers are there from WashDOT trying to make sure everything's safe.
During snowstorms like this, we are out plowing in tandem, effectively getting the snow off the roadway. And so when I say tandem, you're going to see groups of snow plows traveling really slowly,
I know what
pushing
tandem
snow off
means.
one blade to another to effectively scoot it off the roadway.
Is that a word that people don't know the meaning of? Tandem? It's like snow. What is this? What is snow and what does tandem mean? Okay. It caused some crashes. It shut down I-90 eastbound from North Bend to Snoqualmie yesterday at times. It didn't totally, as our friends over at Cairo News Radio says, harsh the vibe. Certainly not for the, who wrote this? For the powder hounds. So, this is what our sisters, God bless them. This is what our sister station wrote. It didn't totally harsh the vibe for powder hounds who spoke to Cairo 7 TV.
I was like, let me get up here and see Snoqualmie, and then
it's Snoqualmie, dummy.
You had an extra syllable.
Snoqualmie, and see Snoqualmie and
Snoqualmie. And you know, Cairo 7, could you not have said, hey dude, great clip, love the vibe, you powder hound. Could you let's do that one more time and say Snoqualmie. You sure? I mean, if you want, I can talk about Puyallup.
Snoqualmie, and then I'll come up with some friends next week to see Alpental. I'm super excited.
Oh my God. How did he get Alpental right? But Snoqualmie, which seems much easier to say.
Yeah, I was gonna say, of like the Native American like names we have around here, I feel like that's a fairly like
Snoqualmie is like the easiest one to figure out.
It makes sense.
That one is so funny to me. It was opening day at Alpental and Snoqualmie Pass.
It's going to be an extra special opening day, too, because we have the brand new Edelweiss triple chair that's going to open, which is our third new chairlift in 3 years.
The triple chair, 3. Tandem, 2. Snow White. Some of you maybe saw the headlines and thought to yourself, oh, no, don't take away our penny. It's okay. Let's breathe. Let's relax. Sky's not falling because we're getting rid of the penny production. And then I'm looking right now at an article at the Spokesman Review in which, first of all, that I have to scroll many, many times to get all the way to the bottom of the story. I will insist right here, right now. That is entirely too long for me to scroll for a story about what businesses in Eastern Washington are going to do without the penny. What do you mean? How Eastern Washington businesses are navigating the end of the penny's production. Is this real? This article? It's really long. Is it a joke? Seriously. First of all, who uses pennies anymore?
I mean,
don't you dare. I'm going to strangle you if you answer that question.
Oh, no, I was going to say cash in general, people don't even really use, let alone pennies.
Exactly. Like, no one carries pennies. What do you mean, how are they going to deal? Oh, what are we going to do? Despite warnings of a looming penny shortage, we're told banks, collectors, businesses across Eastern Washington, according to this Spokesman Review article, things are pretty normal, which is odd for me to learn in a story that's as long as a New Yorker story. Like, this is an insanely long story, and the end of it is just like, no, everything's pretty normal. They quote some guy named Greg Deckard, the CEO of State Bank Northwest, and he says the whole penny panic that the Spokesman Review, I guess, is trying to develop is similar to the panic around Y2K. You're too young to remember this, but at one point, as we were heading from 1999 to the year 2000, everyone was like, what will the computers do? It's going to reset. We're going to go back to the Stone Age. That was an actual talking point, that everything was going to turn off and computers wouldn't work anymore, as if we got hit by some solar flare. Like some EMP goes off. But that's kind of what this is all about. We were told before that computers would crash, planes would fall from the sky, electricity would go out. Same with the pennies. How are people going to buy things? How are they going to get change if something's $1.99? It won't be $1.99 anymore. Or, you know what? They won't say anything. They'll be like, okay, there you go. Here's $1. They'll take the hit for the 1 penny. And Deckard in this article is basically saying the same thing. We still have plenty of pennies. It's not like pennies all of a sudden are gone. So it's business as usual, at least for now. And when they eventually run low, they said, we'll just round up. It's really as simple as that. And he jokes about it in this article. He goes, deposit 6 cents. Okay, we'll get you a dime. Deposit $1 and a penny. Here's $1.05. And if you think you're going to get rich making 4 cents a day, oh, okay. Good luck with that. I mean, he's kind of having fun with this. The reality is most banking happens electronically, right? I mean, the chances of the average person even going into a physical bank is really, really slim. So I don't understand why this is that big of a deal. The Times, the only, from a bank perspective at least, when you are dealing in pennies, it's because you're cashing a check, I guess. And it could be, let's say you got a refund check from Amazon because of the Prime scam. Here's $24.99. Okay, I'm going to go cash it in. But again, who goes to even cash checks at this point? It's very...
You do it on your phone.
Right, exactly. But that's a deposit in fairness. So I'm saying literally, who goes to deposit a check or cash a check, I should say? Who does that? No one does it anymore. Now, they say collectors are predicting a mad dash for pennies. They talked to one collector, STCU in Liberty Lake, and they said they've had enough penny seekers that they've put a limit in place. 2 rolls per person. No more than that. 2 rolls. It's a precaution to make sure that people still have access to the pennies that are out on the market. Brian Jenner, who owns Coin Cradle in Kennewick, said to the Spokesman Review that more people are stopping by, which that's good. And that's part of the second you say something's going to go away, people all of a sudden want it. It's kind of the same thing like, we're going to ban guns. Okay, I'm going to go buy 10. So that's what they're saying about these coins. But again, he's like, I hope you're not expecting to make a whole bunch of money off of this. He's seen TV marketers selling rolls of pennies for $15. Because what dummy is doing that? Because actually, that gives me a really good idea. Things are tough. It's tight right now. And then what's interesting, they talked to some young people in this article. Again, they do a lot in this article. It's absurdly long for a story that's not really a story. And you know what the younger people say when talking about pennies?
What? What's that?
What? What's a penny? They start talking like Emily Randall. A penny? What is a penny? They have no concept for this. Like, hey, come at me when we want to talk about Bitcoins. Those are the coins I can explain.
I don't understand Bitcoin.
Well, the only people who understand Bitcoin are the young people who don't understand pennies. And the only people who truly understand pennies are the same ones who don't understand Bitcoin. That's the reality. So this is just so silly. They say in Newport, one grocery store owner is holding on to a few rolls of pennies for the penny press machine. Says squishing a penny into a souvenir might be the highest calling of a penny after all. So that's the only reason why he's holding on to that. Okay. So nothing's changed. We're all good. Everyone relax. It's a stupid penny. What's really sad are the people who truly believe that the penny that they hold is going to... There's going to be generations of your family. Your bloodline might stop existing before a penny is actually worth something as a coin. Again, right now it costs more to create a penny, to produce a penny, than it does to actually just use a penny as currency. And we're lucky we're getting rid of the penny because I'm sure Democrats would try to tax that. They're taxing gold. It's now in effect. We're taxing, in Washington Democrats are taxing currency. Do you all understand how absurd that is? Here's $1. We're going to tax this dollar. So instead of it, now we got to bring the pennies back because of the tax. So is everyone okay? Everyone relax with the penny stuff?
I honestly forgot about it.
I did too. That's the funny thing. I totally forgot about this story until I went to the Spokesman Review. I was like, what is the Spokesman Review talking about? Because I need some good content here because my producer let me down in his story selection today for the Big Local. Oh, did I say that part out loud while staring directly at you? What stories did you pull for me to talk about in this segment? I want you to describe to the audience, as a talk show producer, which stories you picked me to talk about for 12 to 14 minutes and have an opinion about. Give it to us.
Fatal Falls. One was at Emerald Queen Casino.
Okay, so what did you expect me to say about a fatal fall?
I mean, I don't know what your take's going to be half the time. So.
Okay, but what could potentially be my take? You know me fairly well.
I mean, it was at a casino. You like going to casinos.
Well, then why not just pick a story about a casino, and I'll talk about gambling. Okay, so story number 1 is about a tragic story, a guy falling and dying at Emerald Queen Casino. Story number 2.
It was a patient that jumped to his death at Western
Hold
State.
on. Jumped to his death.
Yeah.
So he went from falling death to a guy jumping to his death.
Well, it says jumping or falling. I don't think they know.
Oh, okay. So you were looking for a theme. Okay, so that's 2 really depressing stories during a segment. I try to keep a little bit light. What would my take be on that? Safety first. What's my take?
Incompetent bureaucracy.
Oh, yeah. And what was your third story? That at least I could have looked at it and said, okay, at least I can spend like a good chunk of the segment talking about this.
Well, yeah, we kind of did that. It was avalanche danger through Snoqualmie and Stevens Pass.
So someone skiing and then falling because of all the snow. Oof, what's going on? You know, you're now vulnerable as someone getting married soon. You need to have a paycheck for the couple, and you need to be the breadwinner. Otherwise, your wife-to-be is going to look at you and say, look, I thought I was marrying you for your money. Now you can't even hold down a job. You know what I mean?
She works in tech, though. That's a high bar to reach.
Yeah, but you're independently wealthy. I can't tell, folks, if that upsets him when I say that. He always has a look on his face, and I can't read it yet. 1-800-465-8770 for your text messages. The Sunset Auto family, loyal supporters of Seattle Red, they want you to know that every qualifying new and used vehicle comes with oil changes for life, which saves you thousands of dollars over the lifetime of that vehicle. So when you're ready for your next car or truck, be sure to visit our friends at the Sunset Auto family in Auburn and Sumner, online at sunsetautofamily.com. When we come back, you pick the news. Story number 1. Conan O'Brien says the F. Trump comics have been co-opted by anger. They're just screaming. Or story number 2. RFK officially makes Maha the most influential it's ever been, changing the food pyramid, or at least turning it upside down. Which story should we get into? You tell me. 1-800-465-8770. You're listening to The Jason Rantz Show.
Hi, I'm Cade with Natural Design Landscaping. Winter is the best time to start your outdoor remodel. Why? Because when spring arrives, your new patio, deck, water feature, or outdoor oasis will be ready for you to enjoy. At Natural Design Landscaping, we're not a big corporation, just a local team that treats your yard like it's our own. The holidays are coming up, and an upgraded outdoor space ready in time for spring is the perfect gift to give. Mention Seattle Red and get 10% off your winter project. Visit naturaldesignlandscape.com and let's create something beautiful.
Be a part of all the excitement at Beasley Coliseum this year. Come cheer on the Washington State Cougars men's and women's basketball teams as they host the likes of Gonzaga, St. Mary's, and Oregon State in conference play this season. Don't miss out on all the action. Grab your tickets to upcoming WSU basketball games today at WSUCougars.com/tix. Again, that's WSUCougars.com/TIX. See you at Beasley Coliseum. Go Cougs!
If you're one of the millions of Americans behind on your taxes, if you're afraid to open your mail because IRS collection letters could be coming, listen carefully. The IRS is cracking down, taking paychecks, freezing bank accounts, revoking passports. That's a fact. But here's what most people don't know. There are official tax relief programs designed to help struggling taxpayers. Programs that could save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief. Optima's award-winning team will fight to protect your paycheck, your passport, and your property. Their tax attorneys and licensed tax professionals will work tirelessly to get you the best deal possible with the IRS. Every day, penalties and interest keep piling up, so don't wait. Call Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-783-8055. That's 800-783-8055. 800-783-8055.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Thanks for calling CM Heating.
Aren't you the company that gives away free furnaces?
That's us. Buy a qualifying high-efficiency cooling system and the furnace is free.
Wow.
Yeah, and our home comfort advisors are tax credit and rebate specialists, so they'll handle the rebate for you.
Go to CM Heating for better comfort, lower bills, and a free furnace you'll love for years. Get your free estimate for furnace replacement at cmheating.com. And remember, for furnaces, fireplaces, hot water, and total home comfort, including electrical,
there's no
Best Mortgage is proud to be the longest-running mortgage company on Seattle Red. Over 20 years giving honest advice you can trust as your VA loan and reverse mortgage experts and debt consolidation specialists too. Just web search Best Mortgage.
Endless hours of research, seeking referrals, dozens of calls. Hiring the right attorney can be a challenging process during an already difficult time. JP Pendergast with Pendergast Law explains.
In Washington State, Tom, there are thousands of attorneys to choose from. Referrals and online research can be helpful, but discovering the right attorney requires a conversation. It can be hard to identify integrity and authenticity without that interaction.
So, what do you recommend?
We encourage anyone looking for personal injury representation to call for a free consultation with our team before making a decision simply based on referrals or online research. Accident victims need an attorney that listens, demonstrates honesty, and is genuinely understanding of their unique circumstances. The care, attention, and preparation that our firm provides throughout the case mirrors the effort involved when taking on the insurance companies.
Save time and avoid mistakes after an injury. Contact the caring and compassionate team at Pendergast Law.
If you or a loved one has been injured in a car accident, call Pendergast Law. We can help.
You picked the topic on the Jason Rantz Show.
Indeed you do, and you are curious about the food pyramid and what this actually means for you. This is actually really significant in the context of at least trying to change the conversation around foods. And I saw the New York Times when this came out today, because they knew this was coming for a long time. This was hinted at several months ago. But the New York Times put out a post about how he's overhauling the food and the food pyramid to emphasize red meat and dairy, such as cooking your food in beef tallow, even though there's no science to back it up. They're lying to you. The people who have been in charge, as you all have gotten fatter and sicker, are the ones who are the most upset here. RFK Jr. is 100% correct to make this change. Zero doubt whatsoever. Zero doubt whatsoever. We were told for the longest time that we should be eating a bunch of grains and crap that is highly processed, when we would have all been better off eating a meat-based diet with a lot of plants. Certain kinds of plants and certain kinds of fruits. Certain kinds of meat, I guess. There's some better than others. Some fish is better than other fish. You know, it's a great fish to eat that doesn't have any or very, very, very little mercury in it. Sardines. Not so much tuna, big tuna fish.
Mm-hmm.
Bigger fish, not as good as the little fish. They're still good for you in a general sense. But when we're talking about like toxicity and the mercury garbage and all of that, I've been eating a lot of sardines lately. That's what my office smells. They're so good. I love sardines. Just out of the can in olive oil. Oh, so good. But they've decided to basically turn the pyramid upside down, which is precisely the way it should be.
The new framework centers on protein and healthy fats, vegetables, fruits, and whole grains.
The only thing standing in the way of this messaging is he doesn't sound healthy. He is very healthy, by the way, but it doesn't necessarily translate to radio. God bless this man. God bless him. Now, a lot of what they're offering here don't really stray from traditional nutrition advice. They say eat plenty of fruits and vegetables, right? They don't flat out talk about saturated fat. The way saturated fat's fine. Trans fats, not so much. But foods high in fats are good for you.
It sounded pretty transphobic, by the way.
Well, you know what? It identifies in a toxic way. It's not my fault. It recommends people cook with butter and beef tallow, quote, and this according to the Times, despite the fact that scientific evidence does not support doing so. That is a lie. That is 100% a lie. And I guarantee you the reporter is a fatty McFatface who wrote that. They're lying to you. They have no idea what they're talking about if they're going to tell you that cooking with butter, grass-fed butter, not crappy butter, not margarine, which is not butter, tallow, grass-fed, great. I told you this back in March. I changed everything about how I eat, how I live. I'm wearing my super functional no-drop shoe right now. Like, I've fully leaned into biohacking, which is precisely what the Maha movement is. I mean, they had Dr. Paul Saladino at their airport press conference with the gyms 3-ish weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. That's a guy who's not really a biohacker. He's biohacker adjacent. But then they go into Dr. Mark Hyman, who's very much a biohacker. Dave Asprey, very much he's the father of biohacking. He's going to be on the show hopefully soon. They lean into eating as non-processed a food diet as humanly possible, eating clean, eating healthy fats, having very high protein. Protein is good for you. It's not just satiating, but it helps you not lose weight or not lose muscle while still losing the fat. I love everything about this. Love everything about this. And again, I want you to pay attention to the people who are pushing back against this. These are the people who have told you to eat a bunch of bread. Eat a bunch of kale, which, by the way, isn't even healthy for you because of all the oxalates in it. These people have no idea what they're talking about. Maybe we should spend just a little bit of time talking to the people who are objectively healthy and are saying, do things a little bit differently than what we've been doing as we've gotten fatter. How can anyone support the establishment on this when it is objectively true that Americans have gotten sicker and fatter under that advice? And sometimes, you get advice that sounds legitimate and sounds like for example, 10,000 steps a day you should be walking. Did you hear that? What's that based on?
I don't know, but it sounds good.
It's not legitimate. In fact, this is good news for everyone. 7,000 is what the studies actually say.
Well, so we're overachieving. Great.
Yeah, 7,000 steps. Do you get 7? You don't get 7,000 steps. You definitely don't. Unless you're walking the dog crazy amounts. Because 7,000, even though I know it's obviously lower. Look at your pedometer right now on your phone. Like, don't you have an iPhone?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you go into health, you can pull that up, and it'll tell you what your steps are. Now, my steps today are decent because I walked the dog twice, and then I walked him to daycare, and I'm going to have to walk to daycare to get the dog later and then take him home. I'm at 5,500 steps, so I'll exceed 7,000 today. My average over the course of the last week is almost 10,000. It's 9,914.
I try to work out like 6 days a week at least, so.
You work out?
Yeah.
What do you work out?
What?
Your body?
Yes. Yes.
Like with exercise?
Yeah.
You don't mean like eating out to restaurants? Jason Rantz Show.
Feeling the chill this winter? Lake Atitlan Insulation helps Puget Sound homeowners stay warmer, lower energy bills, and enjoy lasting comfort every day. With expert insulation, you'll lock in heat and stop wasting money. And right now, generous Puget Sound energy rebates make upgrades more affordable than ever. So don't spend another cold season overpaying. Local, trusted, efficient. Schedule your free estimate today at lakeatitlaninsulation.com or call 206-660-4624. Lake Atitlan Insulation, where warmth meets wisdom.
Here's what a repeat customer had to say about his experience at General Transmission.
I've brought several vehicles to Mark for different repairs over the years. He's always very clear with his quotes and information. You can trust that everything will be done to the highest standards. The team at General are great people and a pleasure to work with. It's nice to support a family business.
Want to save money, have a 5-star experience, and get back on the road quickly? General Transmission is your only choice.
Thanks for calling CM Heating. How can I help?
Yeah, hi. Aren't you the company that gives away free furnaces?
Yep, that's us. Buy a qualifying high-efficiency cooling system and the furnace is absolutely free.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, and our home comfort advisors are tax credit and rebate specialists, so we'll help you save the most and even handle the rebate process start to finish.
Amazing, but what if I just need a furnace?
All good. Furnaces start at just $69.99 a month. And don't forget to ask about our clean air upgrades, because with all the smoke from wildfires, these systems filter out pollen, dust, and harmful particles, keeping the air in your home clean and healthy all year long.
Sweet.
Go to CM Heating for better comfort, lower bills, a free furnace you'll love for years, and cleaner air for your home. Get your free estimate for furnace replacement at cmheating.com. And remember, for furnaces, fireplaces, hot water, total home comfort, and electrical service,
There's no beating CM Heating.
Hey, this
this is Pete from What Matters, a show that covers everything having to do with your home. Tune in every Saturday from 2 to 3 on Seattle Red, where you'll hear from local business owners who are experts in their industries. From foundation to flooring, roofing and windows, furniture and financial planning, it's everything in and around your home, and we've got you covered here on Home Matters. If it matters to you, it matters to us here at Home Matters. Saturdays from 2 to 3 right here on Seattle Red, or listen to the podcast on mynorthwest.com.
At Madrona Financial and CPAs, we believe there are 7 steps that must be taken in preparation for a successful retirement. Retirement needs more than just a basic income plan. Hi, Jeff here with Madrona Financial and CPAs. Don't settle for a partial plan. Get the real deal by requesting your no-cost Madrona analysis today and discover what you may be missing. Call 833-673-7373 right now to request your analysis. That's 833-673-7373.
Seattle Red on 770 KTTH Seattle, 97.3 KIRO FM, HD3 Tacoma Seattle, 94.5 K233 DT Eastway, 33 BU Seattle.
She says it was justified. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem addressed the shooting death of a woman this afternoon after a confrontation with ICE agents.
Secretary Noem said the deceased woman, identified by local officials as Renee Nicole Good, used her car as a weapon to attack a federal agent.
The ICE officer, fearing for his life and the other officers around him and the safety of the public, fired defensive shots.
Secretary Noem said cars used as weapons against federal agents happens too often.
And I'm asking the Department of Justice to prosecute it as domestic terrorism.
Secretary Noem said she did discuss the incident with Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and noted their different viewpoints of it. Walz called the ICE enforcement recklessness that cost someone their life.
Fox's Colonel Scott. Fox's Mike Tobin is in Minneapolis. He says demonstrations have begun at the site of the shooting.
They look like they're about 1,000 strong now at this point. That's the largest crowd that we have seen since the shooting incident itself. And we've got reports that protesters are gathering at the federal building. And a law enforcement source tells me that they have shattered some of the bulletproof glass at that federal building. But since it's bulletproof glass, it doesn't break away.
Protests also planned in New York City and Washington, D.C. Just days after President Trump issued a warning to the president of Colombia, he now says the two exchanged a friendly phone call and has invited Gustavo Petro to the White House. The president wrote on Truth Social that he appreciated Petro's call and tone and looks forward to meeting him in the near future. It's coming after the capture of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, who now faces federal narco-terrorism charges. Federal health officials releasing a new food pyramid with a focus on whole foods, healthy fats and protein, and away from ultra-processed foods and sugary snacks. America's listening to Fox News.
As a mom, comforting my family is what I do best. Vicks Vapor Stick provides soothing, non-medicated Vicks Vapors in an easy-to-apply stick, and it dries fast, so there's no mess. I use it to comfort myself and my family.
Thanks, Mom.
Vicks Vapo Stick, soothing comfort for the whole family. And try Vicks Vapo Shower Max for steamy Vicks Vapors when you need more comfort for yourself. Use as directed.
Welcome back to Winter Hack Radio, the place for clever hacks to survive the season. Icy driveway? Well, try spreading sand or birdseed to help with traction. Snowy puppy paws? Well, grab a whisk, brush it off, done. Catch COVID-19? Well, just get...
Actually, there's no hack for COVID-19. But if you test positive, prescription medications for COVID exist. Ask your doctor if they're right for you. Visit PfizerForAll.com to learn more. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Folks! The yellow light!
Dude, I'm walking here!
Good afternoon and welcome to the Jason Rantz Show. We are here live on Seattle Red, 770 a.m. We are streaming live on seattlered.com. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy stops by. He's going to be breaking some news on how he's going after California and perhaps Washington State, wink, wink, over abuses on handing out licenses to truck drivers who shouldn't be driving trucks. Plus, obviously, huge announcement locally for Boeing and Alaska Airlines. We have a very in-depth interview at 5:30. You're not going to want to miss it. But first, it seems odd that we have to say it this way, but hey, progressives, you can't try to run over ICE agents. You're not supposed to do that. That's what's trending.
What's trending? National.
I'm not shocked that this has become a major story to the point where there are thousands of people apparently on the streets in Minnesota, potentially getting ready for a riot after ICE agents, at least one, shot and killed a woman who tried, according to the video, to run him over with her vehicle. Someone who apparently is known to harass ICE agents. Still waiting to get some clarification on this. We have her preliminary identity. You heard it at the top of the hour. Tim Walz, the governor, who was waiting for anything that he can use to create a controversy around so people would stop paying attention to the fact that he is, well, his career is over because of all the fraud that he was in charge of, or when it happened was in charge. He's looking at this and saying, hey, how can I turn this into a big deal, make it a big controversy, and actually get people onto the streets? And he's working really hard alongside the mayor of Minneapolis, Jacob Frey, who, because he's so hip and cool and edgy and passionate, he drops the F-bomb on ICE.
I do have a message for our community, for our city, and I have a message for ICE. To ICE, get the out of Minneapolis.
Wow, that was just passion, not written with your staff members to try to get some press coverage. The posture that Democrats are taking right now, and we'll play more from Frey in a minute and Tim Walz and others, would make sense if we didn't have a bunch of video. And now maybe because early on when this happened, there wasn't any video, or at least there wasn't any good video. But there's been a lot of video coming out since that make it really, really, really clear that the woman in the car who refused to get out of the vehicle moves back, reverses, and then drives into the agent, making contact with him. He then uses his firearm to stop the threat. Now, why did this woman try to, in this video, it seems, run him over? Don't know the details. We'll wait to get them all confirmed. But she was fleeing, and the agent clearly was protecting himself. Again, there's plenty of video. If there wasn't any video, I would expect Tim Walz and Jacob Frey and all these others to really lean in and pretend that this is another example of ICE using excessive force, deadly force in this case, because they're the Gestapo. But the reality is that kind of language, calling them the Gestapo, might have been the reason why someone tried to run one over in their vehicle. Plenty of video. And of course, we're dealing with a bunch of Democratic lawmakers who were okay with Minneapolis in particular burning because of left-wing agitators, radicals, domestic terrorists, after the BLM movement started after the death of George Floyd. But they have to know we have access to all of these videos, and people, a reasonable person, will look at any of the videos and say, okay, I understand what happened. Even some of the videos that are far away, you could see crystal clear what happened. Am I missing something here, Jackson?
No.
Did I miss any video that says, well, actually, it was a little bit of an illusion. If you look at it at this angle, it's a little bit different.
No.
Okay. I'm open to that. Mistakes get made. It's not like every single ICE agent is perfect. But what do you expect when you try to run a member of law enforcement over with your car? What do you expect is going to happen? I would posit to you that the worst case scenario that should unfold in your head prior to you making a decision like this is that they're going to shoot and kill you. That should be the default position that you accept, that they're going to do in reaction to you trying to kill them. They're going to kill you first. And if you're trying to kill them, I definitely want them to kill you first. I'd prefer no one get killed. I'd prefer no one try to attack an ICE agent or any law enforcement member or just anyone in general. Don't attack anybody. This is not really difficult to understand. You try to kill a cop, they're going to protect themselves, their partners, and the people around them.
We do not want you here. Your stated reason for being in this city is to create some kind of safety, and you are doing exactly the opposite. People are being hurt.
You're trying to side with the person who wanted to hurt an ICE agent. Again, this is crystal clear.
Families are being ripped apart long-term Minneapolis residents that have contributed so greatly to our city, to our culture, to our economy are being terrorized, and now somebody is dead.
Oh, someone who tried to kill an ICE agent. And of course, Jacob Frey is saying, oh, this was not self-defense by the ICE agent.
They are already trying to spin this as an action of self-defense. Having seen the video of myself, I want to tell everybody
you didn't see the video
directly. That is bull.
Oh, we dropped another.
This was an agent recklessly using power that resulted in somebody dying, getting killed.
What a joke. What a joke. And again, you know that they scripted out all of that. He's trying to do the whole Gavin Newt. They want us to fight back. Maybe some of this anger coming from him is not about what happened, but the guilt he might feel for perhaps inspiring this kind of act.
I myself saw a video of the shots being fired as the car was driving away. What I can tell you is the narrative that this was just done in self-defense is a garbage narrative.
These people are truly and spectacularly evil. I'm looking at a tweet right now from Rashida Tlaib within the last hour. So it's not even like this reflexive tweet right after hearing this. This is what she said. It is clear from that video that an ICE federal agent just shot a woman 4 times in cold blood. Abolish ICE now. That's an evil woman. She's not just lying. She's obviously lying, but that's not all that is an evil, 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 rotten woman to say that. Jacob Frey is an evil, rotten man for saying that. I'm sure there's lots of evil, rotten thems as well who are saying the same thing. That is just pure evil. How someone, upon looking at the video and acknowledging you're looking at the video, come out and say, oh no, this was a federal agent shooting a woman 4 times in cold blood. Seriously? That is absolutely disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. And make no mistake, they're taking advantage of this because they want more turmoil on our streets. They want the riots because they think they benefit from it politically. This is so unbelievably irresponsible. And same thing coming from the director of CARE Minnesota. CARE, which is where you go to for reasonable analysis, untethered from domestic terrorism.
Well, this is what we predicted. We predicted that these ICE agents are untrained. They have been literally coming into our street.
Yeah, they're untrained. Did you know that about ICE agents? They're untrained.
They don't know what they're doing.
They have no idea. It's like they're not even supposed to operate heavy machinery.
Streets with arsenal, and they've attacked our community multiple times. And unfortunately today, the worst part of that situation happened. A young woman, it got, rest on her soul, appeared to have lost her life because they literally shot an innocent person today and murdered her. And so, we're trying to get to the bottom of it, but I know that they already spun their narrative about what they're going to say.
We don't need to spin any narrative. There's video. Do you think some of the comments that came, again, Rashida Tlaib in the last hour, so it wouldn't apply to her, but some of the earlier comments, do you think that was on the basis of thinking there wasn't any video that clearly showed everything, and now they're so far into it they can't just return and say, okay, I'm sorry I rushed to judgment? I would respect that. I mean, I understand why someone who is reflexively anti-Trump and anti-ICE would immediately go to that perspective. It's wrong, but I can understand it. I would respect them if they came out and said, okay, you know what, upon further review, maybe it's not as crystal clear, at least, as I had said. They're showing video over and over and over again. Cable news. Fox has it up right now from different angles. They're slowing it down. They're speeding it up. They're doing it at normal speed. Like you can see the ICE agent getting hit by the car prior to him then firing at her in self-defense. And the position from the left can't be, no, they should just allow themselves to get run over. It's a dangerous job. Disgusting. Here's Secretary Kristi Noem.
It was an act of domestic terrorism. What happened was our ICE officers were out in an enforcement action. They got stuck in the snow because of the adverse weather that is in Minneapolis. They were attempting to push out their vehicle, and a woman attacked them and those surrounding them and attempted to run them over and ram them with her vehicle. An officer of ours acted quickly and defensively shot to protect himself and the people around him. And my understanding is that she was hit and is deceased.
This is crystal clear. And by the way, this is not the kind of video you're going to get like after George Floyd, where people are going to look at this and say, actually, no, this is really bad. This clears the ICE agent so obviously. Again, am I missing something? Am I missing anything here?
I don't think so.
Okay. Because I'm on air for 3 hours now or 2 hours now. Maybe I'm missing some stuff. I try to multitask. Maybe a different video has come out. How could Rashida, again, I know Rashida Tlaib is an evil person, and maybe I'm just answering my own question by acknowledging that. But even I'm a little bit shocked that after all the video has circulated and she's tweeting out the video or retweet of the video to say that it is clear that the ICE agent just shot a woman 4 times in cold blood. I don't get shocked often. I legitimately don't get shocked often. That is shocking to me. That is unbelievable to me.
I saw people on social media kind of making the point that this is sort of the Border Patrol whips scandal. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like that fake controversy all over again.
Except in this case, you can't even look at the video at different angles and say, well, maybe it doesn't show. Because I remember the photos of the border agents on the horses, like with the lasso and everything. Like, you could look at it at a certain angle and say, oh, this is what they're doing. You can take advantage. There's video evidence that they're posting in the lie that they're tweeting out. This is unbelievable. I swear to you, I'm telling you, they actually want riots. That's how far we've devolved. They're looking for riots. Ugh. Push the button.
What's trending? Eco scams.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about this earlier with Todd Myers, who was on the show from the Washington Policy Center. The Washington Department of Commerce has had to correct a pretty significant error. We'll put in air quotes because I'm not sure it was done unintentionally. They said their greenhouse gas emissions reporting was wrong due to a data entry error that inflated the benefits of the Climate Commitment Act by almost 100 times. They said that they cut emissions about 7.5 million metric tons. Except the number was actually 78,000 metric tons, give or take. Well, you just said give or take. We could give 7 million. No, we're taking that away from you. That's insane. And this wasn't just some low-level employee compiling some report because they have to and then putting it out before a major holiday because they don't really care about it. It's not that big of a deal. They celebrated the numbers, which meant people looked at the numbers internally, not just at the Department of Commerce, but the Department of Ecology. They looked at it and said, this is great news. Let's brag about it. Then they went to the Seattle Times, which printed all of that and didn't catch this error at all because they didn't do any reporting. They just got a press release. They regurgitated it because they're just stenographers at this point. They got some quotes. And by the way, they did this, as Todd Myers pointed out, in their climate lab section of their paper, which is sponsored by underwriters who are left-wingers who want coverage that's positive for the Climate Commitment Act. And that's exactly what it is they got. It's unbelievable. Here's Todd speaking with King 5.
Despite the fact that we talk about all the time that we are leaders in fighting climate change and things like that, our climate policies really aren't very effective. And I think the fact that this report was so wrong is indicative that what we're being told about the effectiveness of our climate policy doesn't match the results in the real world.
So when they celebrated the data, let's talk through what went through their heads. They saw it and they knew it was false, and they decided to ignore that it's false and celebrate it anyway. Or they looked at the data. They didn't really know what it was that they were reading. They just knew that, this is good, and they celebrated. Which is worse, the lie or not knowing that what they're looking at is false? What's worse? I honestly don't know the answer.
Morally, I guess lying.
Morally, sure, but what's worse from a policy standpoint, from a trust standpoint? I almost want it so that they lied. Part of me wants them to have lied here, because if they're this incompetent, here's my question, and I suppose this goes either way. What else do they not understand? And they're claiming is a benefit that wasn't a benefit, or the opposite, claiming was bad but wasn't bad. And I realize, as I talk through this, I can also argue, well, what else are they lying about? But dear God, no one caught this massive mistake. It took our friend Todd, a dweeb. He's a data dweeb. I say that lovingly. It took him, as he told us in the first hour of the show, it took him an hour, and he figured it out because he was just looking at it on the surface. Like, this doesn't make any sense. These numbers just don't add up. They're off by like millions. And again, if it was, 78,000, but they told us it was originally even, 100,000, that's still a big, okay, I'll give you a pass on that. Part of me would even say 78,000, you said 780,000, because that just means you added a zero by accident. Okay. But they went from 7.5 million. 7.5 million. How does that happen? Willful. It's willful. Sorry, I'm not going to give them the benefit of the doubt. They haven't earned that. And by the way, part of me would even say if they said 7.8 million from 78,000, I would say, okay, again, I guess I can conceptualize how they made that mistake. 7.8, 7.8, okay. No, it's 7.5. To me, at least, that shows just general incompetence. Because if you're going to lie, you probably would say 7.8.
You're not even good liars. Come on.
Jeez.
Give me something.
Oh, and this Climate Commitment Act, man, can't catch a break. Right? I mean, not only has it not done a thing to help this environment, it didn't cut down on driving, which is their ultimate end goal, make things so expensive to purchase gas that you just give up your car. It hasn't worked. And everyone knows that it's a failure. That's the kicker in all of this. Everyone knows why gas prices are up. Some people don't care. Liberals don't care. That's their privilege. But everyone knows the Climate Commitment Act is a total failure. It's responsible for the high rise of gas prices, which, by the way, were the third highest in the state. And now this. Oh, God. You think the Seattle Times is going to say, we screwed this up? No, they'll report on the error. But they're not going to say, yeah, that's our bad. We should have caught this, but we didn't do any of our homework literally at all. We just reprinted a press release. Pathetic. You know what's also pathetic? People spending 11.87% more than they need to. That's the average used vehicle financing rate right now for a used vehicle, 11.87. Sunset Auto Family, they don't like that. They say they're offering you the less than half the average rate with no payments for 90 days on all qualifying vehicles 2015 and newer. Because you just get more at Sunset. And people do like that. Sean Duffy, Transportation Secretary. When we come back, it's a Jason Rantz Show.
Is it time to get your home sold? Nick Southard with Upgrade Realty here. Selling hundreds of homes for over 25 years has taught me presentation is everything. Picture amazing photography, designer staging, and maximum exposure. With my luxurious marketing, you'll sell fast at top dollar and save thousands in fees for just 1% listing commission. To learn more, visit upgraderealty.com. Upgrade your listing for 1%. Upgraderealty.com.
Be a part of all the excitement at Beasley Coliseum this year. Come cheer on the Washington State Cougars men's and women's basketball teams as they host the likes of Gonzaga, St. Mary's, and Oregon State in conference play this season. Don't miss out on all the action. Grab your tickets to upcoming WSU basketball games today at WSUCougars.com/Tix. Again, that's WSUCougars.com/TIX. See you at Beasley Coliseum. Go Cougs!
All right, here's a quick confession. The reason Nick, my wife, is going to Longevity Medical Clinic is because why?
I got sick of watching you sleep at night when I was awake.
Wait a minute. Wait. Here's what would happen. I'd be asleep because I've got my hormones balanced thanks to Longevity Medical Clinic. I'm asleep, and then Nick would go, "Are you asleep? Are you sleeping? That's not fair. I can't sleep." I'm like, "So you're going to wake me up?"
Yes, because I didn't want you to have more energy than I would the next day, and I was up all night.
So what did I say to you? I said, so go to the Longevity Medical Clinic. Do the same thing I did. Get your hormones balanced. You'll sleep better, right?
And I did.
Right. You don't have to wake me up anymore and go, it's not fair that you're sleeping.
I know.
But didn't you see that it wasn't fair that you were waking me up?
Yes, because now you're the one taking the dogs out because I'm still asleep in the morning.
So we're both getting good night's sleep. We're both getting lots of energy, and we're happy.
You want me to tell you why? Because my hormones are now balanced.
Okay, I don't want to hear about your hormones right now. So be like Nick and get a free health analysis at lmclinic.com. That's lmclinic.com.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. No, we're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless probably has you paying for more data than you might need. You could be throwing away thousands over a lifetime.
Our entry-level data plans start at just $20 a month. And for a limited time, switch and get your second month free. Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit consumercellular.com or a store near you and get your second month free today. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional details.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. Did you buy a timeshare because they told you it was a great investment? That's a lie. Most timeshares can be bought online for $1. To find out what your timeshare is worth and to cancel it, call us today and we'll send you our timeshare exit kit free with all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley for your free exit info guide. 800-771-1300. That's 800-771-1300.
Hey, it's Jason Rantz from my friends over at the Sunset Auto Family. They're not just my friends, but they're your friends because friends treat each other well. Friends give each other deals when they can. And we were looking at the used car financing average rate at like 11.87%, which is highway robbery. That is insane. And so the Sunset Auto Family is like, yeah, we're not going to do that. That's absolutely outrageous. So what they are offering is under 5% financing for 72 months with no payments for 90 days on every qualifying vehicle 2015 and newer. Under 5%. On top of that, they give you top dollar for your trade-in and throw in lifetime warranty protection on every qualifying vehicle. Just visit any Sunset Auto Family dealership today because you just get more at Sunset. And people do like that. Sunset Kia in Auburn, Sunset Chevrolet, and Sunset Ford in Sumner. All financing rates and terms are subject to credit approval on qualifying vehicles only. Check out their insane inventory over at sunsetautofamily.com.
Thanks for calling CM Heating.
Aren't you the company that gives away free furnaces?
That's us. Buy a qualifying high-efficiency cooling system and the furnace is free.
Wow.
Yeah, and our home comfort advisors are tax credit and rebate specialists, so they'll handle the rebate for you.
Go to CM Heating for better comfort, lower bills, and a free furnace you'll love for years. Get your free estimate for furnace replacement at cmheating.com. And remember, for furnaces, fireplaces, hot water, and total home comfort, including electrical,
There's no beating CM Heating.
When the rain doesn't stop and the water begins to rise, a home shouldn't be left vulnerable. Heavy storms and flooding can cause lasting damage, but homeowners don't have to face it alone. Lake Atitlan Insulation specializes in water drainage solutions that protect properties and provide peace of mind. Call today before the damage is done. Lake Atitlan Insulation. Local, trusted, efficient. Visit lakeatitlaninsulation.com and schedule your free estimate today. Call 206-660-4624. Lake Atitlan Insulation, where warmth meets wisdom.
The Jason Rantz Show.
All right, let's break it down with Seattle radio host and author Jason Rantz.
Jason, if I didn't know you, my first question would be, do you make these stories up?
No, they accepted this proposal.
I guess it's a measure of how much they really don't like Trump, isn't it?
Long form.
Welcome back to the Jason Rantz Show on Seattle Red and SeattleRed.com. Big news day for the Department of Transportation, some big local news and some big regional news. Joining me on the line is my friend, the Transportation Secretary, Sean Duffy. Welcome to the show.
Jason, it's been way too long, probably a year since we've seen each other. You joined me on the bottom line on Fox, but it was good to see you again in your home territory in Seattle.
Yeah, so let's talk about some big news for Alaska Airlines today. They made the announcement, the largest fleet order they've ever put in, 110 Boeing planes. It's obviously a really significant deal, both economically and just generally for airfares.
Yeah, it's a big deal. So again, this is a sign that American manufacturing is back, whether it's airplanes or autos. President Trump has said, we're going to make the best products in the world, not just for Americans, but we're going to make those products for the rest of the world. There's choices that Alaska Airlines had, and they know that the best aircraft produced is right here in Seattle, made by Boeing. And so, yeah, over 110 aircraft. What's really unique, though, is that Alaska sees a great path to growth. Aviation is growing. Alaska wants to be part of it. So to have this size of an order come in shows the kind of vision they have of the capacity that they can fill as they look to the future, which is great. It's great for Alaska and a really great sign for Boeing.
Well, it's good for Alaska. It's good for Boeing. It's good for this region. I mean, we went to about 2 or 3 years of just some discomfort, I think, about the direction of Boeing. Some very big mishaps, we'll say. And, we want to root for Boeing, but we also want to make sure that they are, providing a safe product.
That's 100% right. So I think under Kelly Ortberg's leadership, he has brought the company back again. If you don't have safety, Jason, whether you're a manufacturer or you're an airline, you have nothing. You don't have a business. Yep. And it's our job as the regulator to make sure they're producing safe aircraft, that we're certifying safe aircraft, and the airlines are, running a safe airline. And so, again, I think Boeing has done a great job in moving the needle over the last couple of years under Kelly's leadership. And you're seeing that with the historic number of sales they had last year alone. They sold more airplanes last year than any other year. President Trump was very helpful in that. As he traveled around the world, he would Boeing sell, but that the consumers, the airlines, they understand that Boeing's back and making a great product at a great price.
So let's talk about some of the greater safety issues, because I know when you took over, you had talked early on about just the level of technology that seems very obsolete, very older technology that is trying to keep all of us safe and make sure our airports are running effectively. And I know just within the last few days, you made a big announcement about just upgrading radar systems.
Yeah, so I was shocked, and I think most Americans were shocked at how old, how antiquated our air traffic control system is. If you think back to the 1980s, the little copper wires that would connect our phone lines are the very same wires that the FAA is using to keep planes safe in the sky. Now, is it safe? Of course it is. But you have to move with the times, and when there's better technology, you have to upgrade to make sure you take advantage of it. So we're moving from copper to fiber, analog to digital, which, by the way, is probably the most complicated part of what we're going to do in this phase. Most American companies made this transition, 15, 20 years ago. The FAA is doing it right now. We just announced that we are buying brand new radar for the whole system, and we got great pricing. We have 2 companies that are going to provide for us, because the mission here is you can't let these projects, which is what the FAA did in the past, they can't span over 15 and 20 years. By the time you deploy what's new technology today, 15 or 20 years from now, it's old technology. So we're going to move faster. We're going to move at the speed of Trump. We think this phase of new telecom and new radar will be completed by the end of 2028, before President Trump leaves office. There is another phase, though, that we have to do. We need a new software system, a new common automation platform. That's going to take some time to develop, to debug, to deploy, to train on. I need more money for that. The Congress didn't give me the money for that phase of the operation. But we are going to have a state-of-the-art air traffic control system, and we are not going to work at the speed of the old FAA. We thought how we contract. We're bringing in the private sector as project managers to help lead this deployment much faster. Again, the FAA is great at safety, but they're not really builders. They don't have the skill set to build out this kind of infrastructure. So we're going to use the private sector to help us do that and do it more effectively, which is what I think the American people would expect from us. That's what they want us to do. Use the best tools at our disposal to give the best delivery for them. And I don't mean to go on you, Jason, but if you think of this news today with Alaska Airlines, they see aviation growing. Other airlines see aviation growth happening. We're going to deploy new technology in the form of drones, delivering your coffee or, up to a 5-pound package from the grocery store. We're going to have eVTOLs. These are the Ubers in the air, the mini drone, bigger human-sized drones that are going to move people more effectively through the airspace. And so you need more capacity. We have to navigate that capacity, which means we need this new system to address the new capacity that's going to come online in the coming year. So really important. All of this stuff is tied together.
But how do you make those kinds of changes, not just in a safe way, but in a way that cuts down on delays? Because, anytime you're trying to upgrade a really old system with something new, it seems like it's just overwhelming and can't just be, it's not a flip of the switch, essentially, that goes off to this new system. The old system has to talk to the new system. And that just seems really complicated.
Well, it is complicated, which is why no one has done it, right? They've said it's a complicated issue, so we're just going to pass it off to the next guy, the next secretary, the next administration. Well, listen, we're beyond that point now. We can't pass it off. And as we keep airports and airplanes running, we're also going to be switching over to a new system. And so the thought process behind that and maintaining the culture of safety is critically important, which means we're going to go slow. We're going to deploy it in a fashion that makes sure you're safe in the airspace, but allows us to make the transition. And that's why we brought in some outside help, not just the FAA, but outside partners to help us think through how we can do this most effectively. But again, I think the issue here is you could say, well, it's hard, it's complicated, so don't do it. Mm-hmm. Well, I think the greater risk, Jason, is if we don't do it and the system continues to get older. You saw in Newark in May, we had an outage of the telecom for 45 seconds twice in Newark. Well, you can't talk to airplanes can't talk to air traffic control. That is a bad situation.
It's terrible.
So we see this as necessary. The system is safe today, but is it going to be safe 10 years from now? Probably not. So we have to do this and do it the right way and make sure we do it safely, which is what we're focused on right now.
So obviously it's not just about planes in the sky, it's about trucks on the roads. And we've had a lot of controversy over the course of the last couple months of people who should not have had their licenses to operate a truck be given licenses in Washington State and California, obviously tied to some really significant crimes. What's the latest, in particular out of California?
So just to take a step back, we've seen a lot of video. They've gone viral online. A lot of news media has covered these crashes where you have foreigners who have a commercial driver's license and they're on American roads, they're not well trained, and these are 80,000-pound vehicles. And I think most Americans think that you're a well-trained truck driver when you drive a big rig like that on an American freeway, American highways. And the truth is, what we found is that's actually not the case. We have states. So by the way, so states are the ones that issue these licenses, not the federal government. Mm-hmm. So we look to California or to the state of Washington to go through the right process to issue a commercial driver's license. Well, specifically in California, there's a version of the commercial driver's license. It's called the non-domiciled CDL. It's a CDL that if you're a foreigner, you can get a license in this country to drive. Well, the way they were issuing these licenses, they were giving the licenses to people for way longer than the time frame in which they were allowed to be in the country. And we've seen CDL mills where you have just this churn where CDL mills are just giving people certifications that they've successfully passed the instruction courses and are safe drivers, and they pass that off to the DMV. And these individuals get a driver's license, and they are not well qualified. They're not qualified at all to be behind one of these big rigs. And so California, with regard to the non-domiciled, they had 20,000 illegally issued non-domiciled CDLs. They've at first said, we're going to work with the Department of Transportation. We are going to revoke those unlawfully issued licenses and then do a review. Well, about 2 weeks ago, Gavin Newsom said, no. Actually, we're going to pause that. We're going we're going to let them keep their licenses for a longer period of time. Well, we had given them 30 days. This decision by Gavin Newsom is to not comply with our requirements on these licenses. And so we're going to pull $160 million from the state of California based on their non-compliance. Now, this is step one. There's a number of other steps we'll take if they don't come into compliance. But even in your state, Jason, we have non-domiciled CDLs in Washington, and they have violated our rules. But not only that, in Washington, they've given these foreigners a standard driver's license that are reserved for an American citizen. They've given these individuals the full-fledged license as well. So they've gone even further than the state of California. And we're not going to stand for it. I want American families to be safe on American roads. And the problem is, if you get a license in Washington state or in California, you don't stay in that state. You get in a big rig and you drive across the country. So you endanger everybody else in every other state that thinks they're getting on, going to be safe, and their state does it the right way. Well, not if you have a California driver on your roads, which oftentimes you do. So we're just not going to put up with it. We're not going to tolerate it. And we're going to use every tool that we have to get these states to come into compliance. And phase one is pulling money.
So we know you're pulling money from California. What are the consequences here in Washington for what's been going on? And to what degree are Washington officials at least cooperating early on and getting you the information you need?
Yeah, good question. So we're in the process of working with Washington, developing a plan for them to come into compliance. And we'll see how willing they are to work with us. And again, just to kind of make one other point, Jason, Donald Trump didn't make up these rules. Yeah. These aren't new rules. These rules have existed for decades. Again, that you can speak the English language. You have to be proficient in English so you can read road signs. That if you get in a car crash, you can talk to first responders. You can talk to law enforcement. Oftentimes, they're carrying loads that first responders need to be aware of what those loads are. These are not new rules. It's just that the rules weren't enforced. And now we're seeing, when Joe Biden let in 10, 15, 20 million new people into the country across the southern border during his presidency, a lot of them have come to get commercial driver's licenses. And so you have a lot more of them in the system. And again, we're now going to enforce the laws that are on the books to make sure we have well-qualified drivers. But this is not new. These are old laws that we're just now enforcing.
But what is the timeline, generally speaking, on all of this? Because to your point, every time someone's on the road, it is a danger to the public.
It is. And so I don't have the ability to automatically say, you're not in compliance, I'm going to pull money today. We give states, again, we want to work with states. I don't want to pull money from California. I'd actually like California to comply. And so we give them 30 days to come into compliance. And California, again, first signaled that they were going to comply. And then at the very end, they said, no, we're not. And so we don't have a lot of choices left, but for them to pull their financing, their funding. And again, my mission here is not to penalize blue states or red states. It's just to say, hey, we have basic rules to keep our people safe on the road. And these can be very dangerous big rigs if you don't know how to drive them and you're not well qualified. And so we need to keep them off American roads. And if you're unwilling to do that, we have to use every tool we have to make sure you comply. But you know what, Jason, I don't get the liberal mindset. This doesn't make sense to me. Why? I think good government, a good governor would say, well, of course I want my people to be safe on the road. Of course I don't want an average Californian family or a Kansas family to perish on the American roadway because I gave someone a license to someone who wasn't qualified. But it seems that these governors care more about giving a commercial driver's license to a legal who's not qualified than they do for the American people, the American family who expect to be safe when they get in their vehicle, whether they're going to church or the grocery store or going to school, that they're not a priority. It doesn't seem like good government. And so I can't wrap my head around the liberal mindset on that one. If you can explain it to me, I'd be happy to hear what they're thinking, but it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make any sense. It's performative in a sense, right? They I think, took advantage of the fact that there was a crisis of a lack of truck drivers, right? There's no doubt about that. We were dealing, to a degree, we're still dealing with that as an issue. At the same time, then they allow people to come into this country illegally, or they have lax rules in place because they want to say, see, we can't actually enforce immigration law because we're so reliant on these folks to do our, who else is going to pick our salads? Who else is going to clean our bathrooms? They lean into the most obnoxiously offensive and condescending language, but now it's who else will drive our trucks? But I think there are a lot of people who are saying, well, I prefer someone who drives our trucks who can speak the language, read the signs, and actually know how to operate this vehicle.
Well, I would say we do have enough people to drive trucks in America. That's not the issue. I do think that if you're a company and you can hire someone who has a commercial driver's license that doesn't speak the language or didn't get the appropriate training and maybe comes from a different country, you can pay them less. And it's about, sometimes with some of these companies, it's about profit as opposed to hiring well-qualified, good American people with a family supporting job who are going to keep other families safe on the road. They're not opting for that. They're opting for the cheaper avenue, which is the less safe avenue. And it's our job to say, no, safety's first. Yeah. We are going to mandate, make sure that your safety on the roadway is of paramount concern. Even if Gavin Newsom won't do it, even if the state of Washington won't do it, we are going to make sure that we do what we can to keep people safe. But Jason, these are if you have a high school diploma and you come out and you're 21 years old and you go to a truck driving school, you can make a good living driving truck in America. These are really good jobs. You don't need to bring in an illegal workforce or even just someone who got a work permit from Joe Biden and are here legally, but are here short term. You don't need to give those great jobs to those individuals who, again, aren't qualified and don't speak the language. We have Americans who want those jobs. They can support their families by hauling loads across the country. And so that's actually not the case. We do have enough workers to accommodate the loads that need to travel from point A to point B.
So before we let you go, I'm going to take advantage of the fact that I do know you, and I feel like I could ask two small, tiny favors back to airports. Number one, at least at SeaTac, there is literally nowhere that you can plug in your phone and actually get a full battery while you're waiting to get onto a plane. Is there a reason why the electricity that flows through these USB ports can't do a damn thing?
That is a great question, and the first one to bring that up to me, but I've experienced that myself. So I don't actually run the airports, right? The airports are run. I have two airports. We have Washington Reagan and we have Dulles. But the communities run these airports, and we offer good resources to airports for projects that they want to implement to make the flying experience better. And I think this is a really good point, Jason. How do you make the experience better as we travel through airports and onto airplanes? And it's a good point. Let's make them clean. Let's if you have to charge your phone, make sure you get enough power as a source to charge your phone as you get on the airplane. These are not complicated things. And by the way, when you travel overseas, you see how well other countries do this with their airports. There's no reason why America shouldn't do the same thing. And we have a role at DOT, but also the cities and counties or states that run their airports have to do their part as well. And so I think this is it's simple. Why doesn't everyone in Seattle who watches your show write in to the airport authority and say, listen, we need more power, right? More power to charge our phones. I'm all in.
They're watching this over at SeaTac, and TSA checkpoints, that does go under. It's like completely separate, more oversight role, but you're not doing anything on the day to day as to manage this.
So in regard to TSA, this is under Homeland Security, and again, it's this balance of how do we protect people's individual constitutional rights, but also keep our air travelers safe. Mm-hmm. And I know Secretary Noem has put a lot of thought into how do we make TSA a lot better, a lot faster, better equipment. And again, we've only been in office for a year. This takes a little more time, and we've had a number of conversations, and I give her compliments on the work she's doing to try to make sure that, listen, again, if you're stripping people down and taking their shoes off, and you have kids that are crying, and there's a better way to do it and still keep people safe. And that's what she's thinking through right now. And
well, the family people have a better experience. Idea is a really good one. I mean, and
which one?
The family lines idea, where we're actually going to give some space for families who are already going through the nightmare of having to travel with a bunch of young kids, but now we're making it just a little bit easier. I like that idea. And I don't have kids.
I have a lot of kids. And if you're traveling with a couple of them and you're trying to get their shoes off and you get their bags up, for the scanning, and then when they're younger, they can be upset because they can't, carry their doll or their blanket through the through the scanner. It creates a lot of stress for family members. Again, the key with all of this is we want to keep travelers safe. What we have to do is think through, are there better ways to do what we're doing? Can we learn lessons from other parts of the country or the world that do things better than we do? And I think it's that analysis. You got to put the thought process into it that's going to bring better results and a better experience for the American people. But I think the American people deserve it.
Yeah,
they deserve to have a better experience as they travel. And like this one, I welcome to any of your listeners who have ideas for us, for me, on what we could do to improve. I'm happy to hear those. We're going to put some money into. Listen, I think there's a lot of moms who are nursing that don't have a place to pump or nurse their babies. Can we have some more nursing pods? Could we help fund that? Could we have more play areas for kids? I think if you're traveling on a plane with kids, sometimes they get upset and it stresses you out as the parent as you're trying to calm them down. You're stressing all the travelers out around you because you have a crying kid. If you had those children playing, Jason, and you burn them out because they're exuding all this energy and effort, they get on the plane and they sleep.
Yep.
So way better experience, and they're not on the phone and the iPad. All, I think, really good stuff.
Yeah, and you're doing it for adults with the gyms now coming to at least some of the airports, perhaps in the near future. We've been talking with the Secretary of Transportation, Sean Duffy. Thank you so much for giving us some time today. Really do appreciate it. And yet again, welcome back to Washington. Hopefully we get you back here soon.
It's good to be here. I was welcomed with good coffee and rainy weather, so it was total Seattle.
Yes,
as I got here.
Very thank Seattle afternoon for you. Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. You are watching and listening to The Jason Rantz Show.
Hey, it's Jason Rantz. Our local tax expert, Greg Nunn, wants taxpayers to know the IRS is now going after older cases very aggressively. If you received Form CP-504 from the IRS, do not ignore it. Be proactive and resolve your situation with Greg Nunn, N-U-N-N, None Better Tax Resolution.
Welcome back to Winter Hack Radio, the place for clever hacks to survive the season. Icy driveway? Well, try spreading sand or birdseed to help with traction. Snowy puppy paws? Well, grab a whisk, brush it off, done. Catch COVID-19? Well, just get...
Actually, there's no hack for COVID-19. But if you test positive, prescription medications for COVID exist. Ask your doctor if they're right for you. Visit PfizerForAll.com to learn more. Sponsored by Pfizer.
You still thinking job change in the new year?
Yeah, I need something that's in high demand and more stable in this economy.
IT?
Yeah, cybersecurity, maybe even AI.
That's what I did.
Really? How?
Went to My Computer Career. You don't need any prior experience, and you could start your new career in a matter of months. A lot of IT pros go to school there, too, to level up.
Sweet. Are classes online or on campus?
Both.
Wow, I'll check it out. Thanks.
Make this your year. Take the free career evaluation now at mycomputercareer.edu, an elite CompTIA certification partner.
Financial aid is available to those who qualify, including VA benefits.
With great reviews and friendly, smiling faces, General Transmission can repair your transmission for far less than a replacement. Need a second opinion? Trust General Transmission. Family owned and operated since 1988, generaltransmission.com.
You gave years, maybe decades to your job. You showed up, worked hard, and planned for retirement. But now, the company's changed. Or maybe you've taken a buyout or been forced into early retirement. So, what happens next? I'm Jeff Jr., founder of Trajan Wealth. And if you've built up a 401k or thrift savings plan, now is the time to ask, is that money really working for you? Many workplace retirement plans offer limited options and even less guidance. At Trajan Wealth, we help people just like you roll over their accounts into IRAs with more flexibility and personalized investment strategies built around your goals. For households with $500,000 or more, let us build you a personalized plan. We operate on veteran values, service, trust, and doing what's right. Your next chapter starts now. Call Trajan Wealth, 206-203-4400. That's 206-203-4400.
Advisory services offered through Trajan Wealth, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor.
Best Mortgage, the VA loan and reverse mortgage experts, are proud to partner with Seattle Red for over 20 years. Get a no-pressure consultation from a real person, never an AI bot. Web search Best Mortgage for honest advice you can trust.
Hey, this is Pete from What Matters, a show that covers everything having to do with your home. Tune in every Saturday from 2 to 3 on Seattle Red, where you'll hear from local business owners who are experts in their industries. From foundation to flooring, roofing and windows, furniture and financial planning, it's everything in and around your home, and we've got you covered here on Home Matters. If it matters to you, it matters to us here at Home Matters. Saturdays from 2 to 3 right here on Seattle Red, or listen to the podcast on mynorthwest.com.
The Jason Rantz Show.
Bring in Jason Rantz, Seattle Red 770 AM host, and also SeattleRed.com. Jason, great to have you with us.
Jason, Seattle is just continually ground zero.
Yeah, and this is really the Pacific Northwest is ground zero for all this nonsense.
USA Today is mocking the far left.
The quick hit.
Okay, so what was curious to me when I saw a film get some basic coverage saying, oh, it was a smash hit or a surprise smash hit, I think it's called The Housekeeper. I thought I noticed someone who was in the film, and because I don't follow Sydney Sweeney all that much, and The Housemaid, I should say, is the name of the movie. I was like, oh, well, that's interesting. I just see this one like Variety article about how it's been a smash hit, and that's about it. It's weird because I remember when Sydney Sweeney, who most of you probably now know because of the American Eagles jeans ad, we were told, and I love this, we were told that her last film, it was a huge bomb, and people were like, see, everyone's rejecting Sydney Sweeney because an independent film that had a very little budget and had almost no press, because it bombed, it was a rejection of the conservative take on the so-called culture wars as it relates to her jeans. And yet, weirdly, as much as I saw a ton of stories in mainstream outlets about that, no one's really talking about The Housemaid, which is a huge domestic and international hit. It made $133 million worldwide, and its budget was something like $10 to $20 million, something like that. And wouldn't you expect that we would get some kind of meaningful coverage here about how maybe the culture wars were siding with conservatives in all of this, or people were siding with the conservatives on the culture war for backing her new movie. They didn't give any kind of even nuanced analysis on the left when it came to her last movie, which the name of which I can't even remember. I mean, I saw clips for it because I'm a member of the Broadcast Film Critics Association. I heard she's really good. It's a boxing movie, but no one saw it because it's a small movie and no one expected it was going to be a big hit. But the second that it didn't meet false expectations, it became some sort of story to bash her, to jump on her. And so if they're going to do that, of course, they're not going to celebrate the fact that she's in a movie, the star of a movie, that did really, really well. And ironically, I'm more interested in the boxing movie than I am in The Housemaid, which is not my kind of movie. I know it's based on a book that people really liked, but the book is also not interesting to me. 1-800-465-8770. If you want to watch the interview with Sean Duffy, by the way, we'll post it on all of our social media channels. Hopefully you will check it out. You're listening to The Jason Rantz Show.
Be a part of all the excitement at Beasley Coliseum this year. Come cheer on the Washington State Cougars men's and women's basketball teams as they host the likes of Gonzaga, St. Mary's, and Oregon State in conference play this season. Don't miss out on all the action. Grab your tickets to upcoming WSU basketball games today at WSUCougars.com/tix. Again, that's WSUCougars.com/TIX. See you at Beasley Coliseum. Go Cougs!
Amy Cox did something smart. She saved hundreds on auto insurance switching to Progressive. And with that money, she decided to treat herself to an anti-aging red light mask. Will she look like a horror movie villain every night? Yes. Will her boyfriend Kevin be scarred for life? That's certainly a risk. But it's Amy's savings, and if she's willing to risk her relationship for smooth, wrinkle-free skin, well, bye-bye, Kevin. Switch and see if you could save with Progressive and treat yourself. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. Did you buy a timeshare because they told you it was a great investment? That's a lie. Most timeshares can be bought online for $1. To find out what your timeshare is worth and to cancel it, call us today and we'll send you our timeshare exit kit free with all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley for your free exit info guide. 800-771-1300. That's 800-771-1300.
How about a simple New Year's resolution, one that even I was able to achieve? Reverse the clock on hair loss with Advanced Hair's simple one-day FUE treatment. You'll feel more confident and more youthful when you witness your own natural hair growing into those places that have been balding or thinning for years. I'm surprised and relieved every time I look in the mirror. You need to know what that feels like. From Advanced Hair's breakthrough technology to their highly experienced team, there is no one I would trust more than Advanced Hair Restoration. I experienced their exceptional standard of care firsthand. Your comfort and your results are the top priority of the entire Advanced Hair team. Celebrate this new year with a fuller head of hair and get a free consultation, $250 off, and 250 free hair grafts. Call 425-449-8185. That's 425-449-8185. Discover what meeting your resolutions could look like with the before and after pictures at advancedhair.com. Feeling the chill this winter? Lake Atitlan Insulation helps Puget Sound homeowners stay warmer, lower energy bills, and enjoy lasting comfort every day. With expert insulation, you'll lock in heat and stop wasting money. And right now, generous Puget Sound energy rebates make upgrades more affordable than ever. So don't spend another cold season overpaying. Local, trusted, efficient. Schedule your free estimate today at lakeatitlaninsulation.com or call 206-660-4624. Lake Atitlan Insulation, where warmth meets wisdom.
Nothing makes a gathering great like Eggland's best eggs. They're just so delicious.